What's going on, people? What's going on? I got this. Look at this little doohickey right here. This new microphone I'm going to try out here for this live stream. I saw a few of you over in the chat there. How's everybody doing? I had a bit of an evening, a bit of a day with my kids today, and I just got our little one to sleep under the wire. So just want to get on here and chat, see what questions you guys have. Say hello to you this evening. Also got to make sure I know how to remember how to work this software here. Make sure everything works. Make sure everything works. Nope, of course it does not, but I will fix it. So let me fix this, resize it. Franklin, what's up? Franklin says, it's still not right, is it? I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see. Does that look right to you guys? I changed it, right? Change that back. How's that? That's good, I think. I don't know, can you guys see that, or is that too small? That's probably okay, right? I'm probably gonna have to change it on every freaking every damn different scene or whatever, but that's fine, whatever. Maybe I can change the font size too. Give me just a second, guys. My wife is in there doing laundry on the other side of this wall, so that's probably okay, right? No, let me keep it like that, I think. All right, sorry. Okay, what's up, guys? We'll do this together when we get going here. All right, let me go back to the chat, see what's going on. I'm gonna say hello to everybody tonight. I see Franklin's in the house over there. You heard about the secret Oscar voters that got me scared. You mean the anonymous ballots? Yeah, but I literally don't pay attention to those. I basically ignore them. It's almost 11,000 people that vote for the Academy Awards, and we get maybe 100 of those. So, you know, it freaks people out every year. And if you dive into it too much, then I can see why, but I wouldn't worry about it. I try not to put too much stock in it. Let's see what you guys got to say here. SCW, what's up, buddy? How are you? It says, people arguing over one battle or centers. Both are good wins. A bad win would be Hudson. Surprising Buckley. Yes, it would. Have you guys heard all this discourse going on too with all these nominees? I don't know what the Jesse Buckley one is, though. You guys have to tell me. Because I know about all the Timmy stuff with the ballet and all that stuff, which is kind of silly at the end of the day. And when I read a little bit more into it, I was like, we're upset about this. But anyway, we can talk about that if you guys want to. But what's the Jesse Buckley one? Because I heard that she was under some fire too about cats or something. And I was going to like look it up. In fact, I could pull up my Google Chrome right now and try to find out. But I didn't know if anybody knew what that was all about. All right. Anthony's here. What's up, brother? How are you? I was hoping you would do a live stream soon. Yep. Here I am. This will probably be the last one before the Oscars, though. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do a live stream during the Oscars because I let Logan stay up and watch it with me. And that might not be conducive to doing it out here. I'm definitely going to film my reaction to it, but I guess he'll be, no, maybe he'll be out here anyway. But if he's not, if we're in the house, I probably won't do it. But I'll film my reaction and get it out for you. But this will probably be the last live stream until the Oscars because I have so much content that's going to be dropping on the channel this week that I'm in the middle of editing a couple right now. All my members will, of course, get it first. If you want to be a channel member and you're watching on YouTube, just click join down below. We're up to 67 members. So stop the count. I'm just kidding. They don't do that anymore, do they? But we do have 67 members as of today. So thank you guys so much. You guys are the best. What was I going to tell you? Okay, so I did, well, members know, but I have my If I Casted an Oscar Ballot video that went up today for them, and it'll be up on the channel on Monday, I think. And then it's all this content that's pertinent to the Oscars. So I have to get it out because the Oscars are next weekend. So I have one of my friends coming on to do like a last minute gut check, and we'll probably put that on Friday. I'm going to obviously have my final predictions, which will be out on Thursday for everybody. The channel members will get that probably a day early. Logan's video, my son, he cast his Oscar ballot, and that'll be up. So that's what, 4 videos right there, right? In 5 days. So, and then I'll have my Oscars reaction. If not Sunday, Monday. So let's see what you guys are saying. And if you have any questions, just shoot them over in the chat. I am by myself here. If I see any super chats pop up or whatever, I'll prioritize them because sometimes I'm slow going through the scroll here. So if you really, really got something you want me to see, just throw that up there. If not, I will get to it. Also, if you guys didn't see it, over on YouTube, I have a poll up at the top of the chat. You should see it. It says who's going to win lead actor. Right now, you guys are saying MBJ, Michael B. Jordan, at 69%. In a clear runaway in that poll. I don't know. We'll talk about that. I think I'm rolling with Timothy, guys. I think I made my decision, but here's why, though. Well, there's a lot of factors. Let me see if you guys. I don't want to take up if you guys have questions. Let's see. What's up, Joey? I see you over there, buddy. Let me go through here. Where did I leave off at? Where did I leave off? I was talking to Anthony, right? Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you, SCW. Great shirt. Thank you. Thank you. No Misfits action. All right. Let's see what we got here. I'm gonna go through some of these comments. Hopefully this mic sounds okay. By the way, if it sounds weird, you guys let me know. What? YouTube's giving me some kind of warning. I need to make this bigger because I'm old. But see, I'll do the best I can do here. He says, if F1 came out like 10 or so years ago, it probably wins picture or at least is in the win conversation, but I don't trust anonymous ballots. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it's cool. Like it's, interesting to like see what people say when they cast their votes and stuff. But at the same time, what are we talking? 100 out of 11,000? I mean, it just you can't let it get too crazy. Now, if like every single one of them said the same thing over and over and over again, then you might be like, whoa, wait a second. Everybody's saying this. But, they were kind of all over the place, at least the ones I saw. And I don't like, I know a lot of my friends do them and stuff, but I don't rush to like read those because you can't really get much from them. Ryan, I also saw The Bride. I'm curious, those of you that have seen that, what you thought, because I'm kind of mixed on it. I thought Jesse was really, really good in it, but it was just a really scattered movie. Like it was just, I couldn't tell what they wanted the tone of the movie to be. So here we go. So Jesse apparently hates cats. Let me know if you guys want me to address the Timothy thing, because I watched the whole interview with McConaughey, and I had seen bits and pieces of it before. I think that was recorded like a month ago or something. And as usual, there's like, smear campaigns left and right when you get into the final week of the Oscars or before the Oscars. Sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not, but it's like every year, here comes, whatever controversies we can dig up or we can find, and we just kind of make the interesting finale to the season. Something about like Jesse Buckley not liking cats. I mean, who cares? I mean, I love cats, but I mean, is she taking him and throwing him out of a moving car or anything like that? I mean, I don't care. It's fine. The thing about Timothy was, in my opinion, at least somewhat out of context. I mean, it was a dumb statement and it didn't sound very articulate, watching it back. But at the same time, like, if you watch the whole interview, particularly like the few minutes before it, the conversation that led into what he said, which is that little 20-second clip that's been shared and people are, having an uprising over. If you watch the like preface to that, they're talking about the state of movie theaters, him and McConaughey. That's what they're talking about. And he's worried about it, just like I am and everybody else is. I see Mikey up there. Give me 1 second. I'll throw that over to my super chat. Let me just wrap up this thought. But, he's talking about like the future of movie theaters, which we're all worried about, right? And he's just basically saying, that movie theaters or cinema could turn into, like an event type thing, like the ballet or the opera. And then we're having to try to save it as artists and like keep it alive when the general public doesn't care about it. He wasn't saying he didn't care about it or that nobody cares about it anymore. It was just the way it was phrased when you just watch that one little 20-second clip. but it was more of an objective, like, comment, like a general comment. He grew up in that environment. His mother worked in those spaces, in the theater and the ballet. He also talked about how it inspired him to be an actor. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's getting blown out of proportion, and it's kind of weird, to be honest. I'm not saying it was smart for him to say it. I wish he hadn't said it, because it is going to be under a microscope. But at the same time, I don't think, especially given his family background and the fact that he is an artist, I don't think that he meant anything malicious by it. But, not everybody's going to think that. He's also way too overexposed. And I think that could inherently be the issue, because, let's see, do I have a super chat here? Let's see. I think that could be the issue, because he's out there so much that, like, I mean, he's bound to say something, right? Let's see, Elizabeth, what's up? Channel member, how are you? Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see, did you read mine? I left right before you began. Oh, no, I didn't. Let's see. Anyway, say Fight Club, and it was fire. Oh, you had never seen it? I love Fight Club. David Fincher. That is a good one. That is a good one for sure. Yeah, one of my favorites. Probably in Fincher's catalog, I would probably say that's probably my number 3 of his, off the top of my head, because it's probably 7. The poster right here, by the way. You guys can kind of see it there. It's my 7 poster. That's in my top 10 of all time. And then probably Social Network, and then Fight Club. Those would probably be my 3. Elizabeth, that was my super chat, I think. Thank you so much. They told me I had one, but I need to change my my settings on some of these, because I went to 4K. So what it did when I did that is it like shrunk everything by half, because I had 1080p before. I'm going to have to grab a beer here in a second too. All right, let me go through some of these here. Thank you so much for the super chat, though. Let's see what we got. All right, you guys are talking to each other, which is cool. I'm trying to get back up to where I was here. Joey, I'm kind of with you on that. I'll point that out to you in a second. So Joey says this. I'll kind of leave that on the screen there. I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, obviously I already did, but now I'm just kind of like, all right, guys, like, but what house of, what does that say? House that Hulk built, I think is what that says. I didn't think MJ would win Best Actor back in April. You mean when the movie came out? Yeah, I thought it was a really good performance, because it's that dual role, right? Which is hard to pull off. And he did really good. He did really good with that. So I was always a little skeptical on Sinners in general, just because it's a horror movie, the genre bias. They just came off of a year where they really went really hard for horror with The Substance and Nosferatu and some other stuff. So I was like, I don't know, 2 years in a row. But they did it. And then not only that, Frankenstein's there too, right? So another good year for horror, really. But I'm kind of with you, where I wasn't really, in the beginning, I didn't really buy into Sinners as an Oscar player for like a month or so. And then I was kind of like, all right, well, maybe this will happen. And I love the movie. So I'm glad that it did materialize eventually. Let's see. I read some of these. And by the way, you guys can have your opinions, and I'll share them if you say it, you obviously are okay with me sharing it, or if you have a question about it, that's fine. If somebody has a problem with Timothy's comments, I understand, especially if you're in that world of ballet or theater or whatever. But I'm just telling you that if you watch the whole interview, I admit my bias up front. If you watch my channel, you know that I love him as an actor. So that's there, full disclosure. But at the same time, if you watch that whole interview, you can see how the conversation trails to the clip that's being shared. And it's not just like out of context, he just said this because he hates ballet. It was in reference to movie theaters and what they were talking about leading up to the conversation. And people aren't going to watch the whole thing, or they're not going to realize that, or they don't care or whatever, because, they just are out for blood, and that happens a lot during award season, especially at the end. And it's late this year. So, let's see. Simplistic Grace says, I think the Timothy hate isn't completely fair, but it's just enough to make him miss out on an Oscar. I would say that too, but here's a couple things about that. And of course, every situation is different, and some are more, warranted or, worse than others when it comes to like, kind of the disgust around it. Um, this one's kind of silly to me. The Jessie Buckley one, which I don't even really know what it's about, but my buddy Anthony just told me it's about her not liking cats. I don't know, whatever. Those are stupid, right? And really trivial. But then you have other ones like the Casey Affleck one. That was sexual assault, obviously. The one last year with Carla Sofia Gascon could be considered, racism and xenophobia, etc. So that was obviously very, very bad. So there's always different like levels and tiers of these things. So I'm not saying that all of them are unwarranted, but what I've learned though is that really, regardless of the controversy or whatever, the Academy never cares. Like if there's somebody in the mix for an Oscar and a controversy breaks, especially late in the season, they don't care. They're going to vote however, not that they're expected to vote, but however they want to vote. That's just always been the case. Now, Amelia Perez had 13 nominations last year and only got 2, right? I think it only won 2. So that's not like overperforming necessarily, but like, and I understand the movie itself wasn't centered around controversy. It was more about Carla and her deal and her, things that came out about that she said on interviews and Twitter and stuff. But, I mean, that came out early. I think that came out right around the Globes, like early January, maybe. Somebody might have to refresh my memory. And then Zoe just kept sweeping, never lost, never missed a step, the song, one original song, I think at every show, it also swept, I think. That song was a bop, by the way. I didn't like the movie, but I dug that song. So that's just one example. And then Casey Affleck won in his year, right? After missing out on the SAG right before that, he still won the Oscar. And he had that pretty serious controversy, like lawsuits and everything going on at the time. So this is nothing compared to some of those. So I can show you guys my spreadsheet. I might feel kind of nerdy though, but I can show you a spreadsheet I made if you want for a tracker for some of this stuff. And the other thing about this comment before I move on real quick to the next ones is, voting was over, right? Because voting ended on Thursday at 5:00 in the afternoon. So you'll have to remind me, but I think this controversy or clip started being shared on Thursday, right? Was it Thursday? Somebody will have to remind me. So if that's the case, that was the last day of voting. So I can't imagine that it would have affected anything that was going on during the voting process. Now, what it could do, which is unfortunate for Timmy, is if he did get enough votes to win and he ends up winning, what's the reception to his win going to be like? How hard the dude has worked to get there. And even saying it in a SAG speech last year. And, even if you disagree with all this ballet stuff or you just don't like him because, for whatever reason, I mean, you can't fault the guy for being a good actor. For giving his all, for being a hard worker and, being a good artist and performer. I mean, that's just what he is, so you might not like him as a person, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But, if you look at his resume in the last, since Call Me By Your Name, really, if you look at the last 7-8 years of his acting resume, there's some stellar shit in there. Like really, really good performances, working with great directors. I think he's a movie star. I do. And I don't want something like this to cloud that. And then if he were to win and this be the conversation over him winning an Oscar, the headline, I can't believe they gave Timothy an Oscar because he hates the ballet or whatever they say, And, I'm not downplaying it. I just think that some of the controversies that we do have around celebrities, and some of them are POSs, and do a lot of things that are a lot worse than, talking bad about the ballet, which is really not even what he was doing, just so you guys know. It's weird. It's skewed. It's very of the moment. People want to jump on what's hot, Let's see. Go through. I don't know why this doesn't leave off where I stopped at. Sorry. I will try to get back to where I was. I have this new software that I've been using, guys. It's really. Oh, by the way, I see Anthony's comment there about the ASC. When does that? You know what? I'm going to share my other screen with you guys so you can see what I'm looking at here. Let me share my. Let me share my screen with you real quick. That way you can see what I'm Googling here. So I'm going to see when, oh, and there's my spreadsheet I was telling you guys about. I'll have to make it a little bit smaller so you can see it. We'll come back to that. Let me see, when, did they announce it on, let me just check Twitter. Maybe it's on Twitter. Did ASC come out yet? I don't think they did, right? You see what's all over my feed though, because I read a couple articles today. So now it's like every article is about that. This is why you can't go on. That's why you can't go on Twitter anymore. See, it's like everything now. I guess they didn't yet, right? Is ASC, right? Not ACS. ASC, I think. ASC. Eric's got a thing. Oh, got a 2023 post going on up here. Whoop. Oh, that's January 8th. Never mind. Nomination. I was like, oh, was that the win? It's on, but never mind. That's the nomination. Okay, let me check. Maybe you guys are telling me over in the chat, but I don't think it's been announced yet. Is there like live updates for that? American Awards 2026. Nominees. What the hell is going on here? Oh, it's tomorrow. Okay, that's why. Oh, and you can live stream it. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. So I thought it was tonight, but it's tomorrow. Okay. So we'll get that tomorrow. I thought we were getting that tonight. Aren't we getting we're getting the WGA today though, right? Or is that tomorrow also? I think that's also tomorrow. So we might not be getting any of those tonight. I'll pull this up and make it a little bit smaller for you guys, and I'll go back and look at your questions real quick. Let me see if I can get that to fit on the screen there. Maybe if I take this off now, let's see. Yeah. I need to make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Make it a little bit bigger for you. So this, I'll explain this spreadsheet that I did the other day, and what we're looking at here. So let me do it kind of like that, maybe. Cut my face off there. Not that you guys would be too upset about that. All right. Let me see if you guys got any questions, and I'll come back to that real quick. Oh my God, it's giving me the alert. Anthony, are you here still? Remember the other night when it wouldn't tell me the super chat, but it's giving me the jingle now? Thank you so much for the super chat. I'll jump to that one real quick. Oh, channel member Andy, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you as always. He says, I do think Timothy's comments were misinterpreted, bad wording, but I also don't love the, I didn't know you all cared about ballet and opera defenses. Oh, you talking about online? Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I agree with that. I don't think that myself or Timothy or you or anybody can like determine how much somebody should love something. You know what I'm saying? And people do that to me all the time. So I don't want to do that to anybody else. So, ballet is not my thing. Opera's not my thing. I do love musical theater. I love going to the theater. You guys know how much I love Wicked. My wife, used to work at the local theater here backstage doing costumes and stuff. So I very much appreciate that world and would never talk down to, people that love that. And I don't think that's what he was doing. But to your point, let them love it as much as they love it. Let them have that affect them. If it's a world that they're in, if they're deep in it, if that's their life, their career and their livelihood is people coming to see the shows and stuff, that's not going to help the situation. So they might be upset for that reason, or maybe it has a kind of a flip effect and more people go out now because of what Timothy said. I mean, that's kind of weird things that happen like that too in pop culture. Like, oh, and I saw they were like inviting Timothy to some of the shows and stuff. That would be cool on his part, probably after the Oscars maybe. But like if he went to a bunch of ballets or something, that'd be cool. Because I know for a fact, based on his upbringing and watching the rest of that interview, I know for a fact that he made kind of like a dumb, like youthful comment that he didn't think about before he said it. But I also know that it wasn't malicious based on the context. So, is he going to make, right that wrong, if you will, with that community? I hope he does. But I agree with you there. Thank you so much for the super chat. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the spreadsheet while I'm looking through to see if you have any questions here. And if I hear any super chats, I will prioritize them because it's just me doing this tonight. And it's always just me. Let's be honest. The house that Hulk built says, "Do you watch the Oscar Expert?" Yes, I do. I've been watching them for a couple years now. I always make it a point to watch them after, though. I don't watch any of their stuff beforehand. So usually I'll, like do my spreadsheets and all my crazy shit, and then I will lock in my predictions, and I usually try to record it and get it on camera, like that day or maybe the next day. And once it's recorded and I'm locked in, if you will, then I start watching some of my friends' stuff. And I have a job where I get the benefit of like driving around town. So I listen, not really watch, but I listen to a lot of my friends' YouTube's predictions and reactions and stuff like that when I'm driving around at work, but it's always after I've recorded my video, So, but I do listen to them and I reflect on what they said, knowing what I recorded, and I'll be like, oh shit, they had a good point, but I've already recorded mine. So I don't like to be too swayed in my predictions, if that makes sense. That's another reason why I stay off social media for like a day or two when I'm doing that until I get it locked in. Let's see here. Could Jesse Buckley get Norbited? Oh, you mean because of the bride? Yeah, Eddie Murphy, Sweat with Dreamgirls. Yep. I don't think so because she gives a really good performance in it. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but her performance is stellar in The Bride. It's really good. It's fucking crazy. It's weird. The movie's like, I don't know, like she's a split personality kind of. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there's some stuff going on in it that she has to act kind of different, like personalities. I'm trying not to spoil it, so I'll just leave it at that. So it's a very multi-layered type of performance from her. I thought she was really good for what the role demanded of her. She wasn't the issue for me. The issue, it definitely wasn't her. Really not Christian Bale either. The issue was just like the theme, like thematically, like I didn't know what that movie wanted to be. I didn't know if it was like, a cartoonish, like kind of slapstick version of Bonnie and Clyde with the monsters. But then it would be like really serious at times, and it ends on Monster Mash, the old like Halloween tune, which I love that song, but I was just like, this is so weird. Like what I don't know what Maggie Gyllenhaal was going for. So it was very dreamlike. It was like a musical, but then it was like a crime drama. I don't know. It was strange, but she was really good in it. So I don't think it would affect her chances. That's just my opinion. Plus voting was over, because it opened nationwide on Friday and voting ended on Thursday. So, again, we get locked into kind of like what's happening right now. But with voting ending on Thursday, and most of them probably already voted before that anyway, nothing that happens this weekend is going to affect what we see at the Oscars. Same thing with Timothy, because I think that story broke on Thursday, or that clip, if you will. So that would have very minimal effect, I would think, on the voting. Yeah, that's what Charlie is saying over there too. Yeah, voting was closed. Yeah, so she's good. I mean, Jesse's sweeping. The Cats thing, the bride performance. I mean, I get it, but I don't think she can lose this year. I don't think she can lose. Let's see. This part, I didn't see the comments before, but real quick, I'll just touch on this real quick. Was that Annie Ruja? I think I'll touch on this real quick. The Oscars in that era, especially, was before they started kind of diversifying a little bit. You remember Oscars So White and all that stuff? That had a lot to do with that. I think that was a bad time for the Academy. And I think he was in the wrong place at the wrong time in that regard. And it's very sad because, you look at somebody like Eddie Murphy and the type of work that he does, and inherently being a comedian, right? And a lot of family films nowadays, Shrek and, Haunted Mansion and all that, which all that stuff's great. And there's a place for all that stuff too, but it's not going to show up at the Oscars, especially for performance, right? So it's just unfortunate when they let these kind of things slip by for whatever reason, whether it's prejudice, whether it was because of Norbit, which is stupid. Look at an actor like Jim Carrey. I mean, he just got the César, right? But like, how many performances did that dude turn in like the early 2000s that didn't get one nomination? He was winning Globes. He was winning, all this shit. But the Oscars were just like, we're good, because you were Ace Ventura 10 years ago. We're not going to do anything for you. You were on In Living Color, so you're not serious enough for us. And now, fast forward, multiple decades, what's the opportunity going to be? When's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? The same thing could be said for somebody like Eddie Murphy. These like comedic actors or, family films or whatever, and they step out of that box, that comfort zone to do something really special. And then, it doesn't happen. It's a shame. So I think that was part of it, the comedian background and the kind of like prejudice that was built into the Oscars at the time, or the Academy at the time. Did I get a super chat? I'm sorry. Let me go up and see that. I saw Andy's. I think this was one too right here. I'm so sorry about that, but thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see. Diane Yoder. I think you were here the other night too, Diane. How are you? The last time a Best Actor won an Oscar after only winning the Golden Globe and Critics' Choice was Sean Penn in 2003 for Mystic River. So maybe MBJ or Wagner Moura will win. Mm-hmm. So let me look at this spreadsheet with you guys real quick. Can you see it down there? Let me. This is a good segue, actually. If I hear the super chat go off, I'll prioritize it, but I'll be right back to the chat, guys. Let me show you this spreadsheet. Let me make it a little bit bigger, too. And I'll tell you what's going on it. So let's go to actor. I think actor is the one that, there's actually a couple categories, but I think actor is the one that's got some people pulling their hair out a little bit. So I did the last 10 years for a lot of reasons, but namely because I'm not going to go through like 90 years of history, but also just because the Oscars kind of started changing what we kind of expected from them with the pinkies out and like, the English Patient and all that shit, And we started seeing some more interesting picks and nominees right around that era of Spotlight, Moonlight, right? Obviously Parasite a few years later, Coda even. Like, they're different. They weren't the usual fare that we were getting from the Academy. And now it's sprinkled kind of all over the place. You still have those, but there's, interesting picks. Even this year with something like Sinners, for example. I made the comment the other night that, 10 years ago, Sinners may not have even gotten one nomination, but now it's breaking the record in 2026. And looking at this spreadsheet, so I did the last 10 years to show you guys what you're looking at. The Oscar winner is the very first column there. And then the 4 major televised precursors are the other columns: CCA, SAG, BAFTA, and the Globes, and who won in each of those categories, or each of those ceremonies, I'm sorry. And then on the right-hand side, the Y with the green boxes, if that award show matched up with the Oscar winner. And on the far right is what the current contenders, if you will, what they have in relation to that. So the highlight on each category for me is if there's a comp that you can look at to make it make sense. Okay. This category especially, and supporting actress too, I'll show you in a second. Those two categories really are hard to predict because there's not a lot of historical data to really align with anybody. In other words, some trend is going to break for somebody to win. So there's not a clear cut, like, if this happens, it'll follow a trend for the most part. So the notes, so Timothy's highlighted in pink there. And if we go down here in my notes, see what I remember what I said here. So right here, I said the reason he's highlighted is he could win. And again, I don't take the controversy into account because voting was over. So he could win if we can have a assumption that he was number 2 at the BAFTA behind Robert Aramayo, right? Because he didn't lose to anybody in contention for the Oscar there. I don't know that he was, though. I think Leo may have been number 2. Of course, there's no way to know. So in other words, if Timothy got the most votes at the BAFTA among this group that's nominated at the Oscars, then you could essentially tell yourself, even though there would be no way to fact check it, that he won the BAFTA. You could tell yourself that because he lost, the person that won's not up against him here. And then you could go, okay, well, he's got CCA, BAFTA, and the Globe. And he lost the SAG to Michael B. Jordan, which kind of makes sense. I thought Sinners would be successful at the SAG, and it was. So I don't really know what to do in this category. But the reason I told you guys a minute ago that I think I'm sticking with Timmy, yes, I love him and I want him to win, but I'm trying not to put my personal preference into what I'm voting. So the reason I would, or predicting, I'm sorry. The reason I would predict him, though, is because there's no clear-cut answer in this category. And if I predict Michael B. Jordan, which honestly is probably a little bit stronger because of when the SAGs happened, literally in the middle of the voting window, that is huge. And I'm not even talking about from a precursor hall. I'm just talking about that momentum that he gained from that event happening at the right time. And it was great. I loved it. And I'm sure most people did. But if I pick Michael B. Jordan to win lead actor, I feel like I have to pick Sinners to win Best Picture, right? Whereas if it's Timothy, that doesn't affect the Best Picture race. I could still pick Sinners. I could pick One Battle. But it doesn't have to be tied to a lead performance, especially Michael B. Jordan, because really his performance as Smoke and Stack in that movie is the performance of that film. Now, I preferred some of the supporting performers in that role, or in that film, like Haley Steinfeld, Wunmi Mosaku, I loved in that movie, Delroy Lindo, right? But Michael B. Jordan is like the, hefty, big, like marquee performance of Sinners. So, like my buddy Clayton said when he came on the other night, and he's very much for Sinners, much more than I am in terms of predictions, but kind of like what he said, like that would, if they're voting for Michael B. Jordan, they're a Sinners person, if that makes sense. Whereas if they're voting for Timothy, right, or Ethan Hawke or Wagner Moura, they could still be a Sinners person, or they could be a One Battle person. But he's saying he feels like if someone votes for Michael B. Jordan, they're really voting for Sinners. And I tend to agree with that. And when he said that, it kind of got me thinking, like, because you got to think about the basket, and you got to think about the hall. You can't just think about the best acting performance and what you're predicting in that one category, because then it's got to make sense in other categories. And that's kind of what I'm battling with right now. Supporting actress is the same thing. I'll leave this up here on the screen, and then you can see the hall for those ladies there too. Those are the three that I think are in the mix still. But you can see this 10-year data right here. And by the way, the SAG has matched 9 out of 10 times for supporting actress. So based on that alone, you should predict Amy Madigan, but I don't think I'm going to because I'm a psycho. Let me see if you guys have any questions over here, and I'll come back to that. Joey says Eva Victor was his favorite performance. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. Screenplay was one of the best screenplays. I wish she'd gotten some credit for that one. I don't know who to vote for between Buckley, Rose, and Renate. Yeah, all really. That's a great category. I think the industry is getting in line and voting for Jesse, or did. It's over now, but you know what I mean. Anthony, I see you up there. Let's see if you guys got any questions. Do I think Zendaya will get her first Oscar nomination next year? What would that be for? The drama or for Dune? What else is she in? She in something else? She's actually in a lot of shit next year, I think. Let me see. I do this series that I want to do this year, but it does take a lot of my time. But I do this 30 under 30 series, and she was on there last year. And the criteria for making my list for 30 actors under 30 years old is that you'll win an Oscar in the next 5 years. Or, I'm sorry, be nominated for an Oscar in the next 5 years. And she was on it. So to answer your question, I did it last year, and she was 5 years away in my mind. Oh, yeah, she's in The Odyssey, too. I don't know if The Odyssey is going to be as juicy of a role, though, because there's so many people in that. But she does play Athena, I think. Yeah, Athena. So that's probably, and she's third billed. And I've already heard people talking about Tom Holland and Matt Damon. I don't know how confident I would be in that, but Matt Damon, maybe. He's been there before, but, Anne Hathaway's been there before. Lupita's great, right? Arpat, Benny Safdie, Charlize. I mean, look at this cast, guys. Mia Goth is one of my queens right there. I mean, that's stacked. So you just gotta wonder, like, that screams ensemble to me, like, a group of players versus like a standout. But I'm not sure if you meant for The Odyssey, but that's a possibility. And then she's in the drama right here, which I had on my on the radar movies, but it comes out in like next month, I think, right? So that I don't think that'll be a player because of when it comes out. And it seems a little like I don't even know how to describe, like, psychological thriller, but romance. I don't know. It seems kind of. I can't wait to see it, but I don't know if it's Oscar-y. So I would say no to that one. And then Dune is always a possibility. You know, if they land Dune, this is essentially going to be Dune Messiah. If they land this, maybe, because her character in that movie has a very pivotal role, or in Messiah has a very pivotal role, but it's a really fucking weird book. So how's it going to be adapted to screen? You know, but she's probably going to have a really juicy part in that movie, I would imagine, based on the book. So to answer your question, I think she's within like 3 or 4 years from being nominated. It's going to happen for her. I don't think it'll be this year though, based on those particular projects that I just looked at. But I could be wrong, and I would be okay being wrong because I love her. She should have gotten some more love for Challengers. She was nominated at my award show last year for Challengers. Who did she? I don't know if any channel members this year. Who won that last year? She didn't win it last year. She was nominated for Challengers. Shit. I can't remember who won that last year. Anyway, this past year, it was Best Female Performance. Man, my memory is it's not good. But I can't remember who it was. But I remember she was nominated. Let's see. Yeah, Charlie says that Zoe Saldana's sweep was stupid. I agree with that. I'm going to run through some of these, and I'll read some of these out loud. If I see a super chat or if I see a question, I'll pop it up on the screen. I got one. Did I read that one already? Yeah, I did. Okay, I read yours already there, Diane. Christmas Jones in the house. What's up, channel regular? She says, gotta make this bigger so I can read it. Tim is just young. The Academy usually doesn't give Oscars to younger male actors. 1,000% correct. With young actresses, yep, that's true. Look at Mikey Madison last year. I think she was 27. Yeah, that's a bias that always exists. You know, Timothy's got that thing though, where he's got that like mini narrative built into where he is young. I think he just turned 31, maybe. So he is young, but like he's already been there so many times. You know, this is his third nomination in like 5 years. I mean, that's a lot. So he's young as far as his age is concerned, but it's not like he's a new or a young player with Academy fare. You know what I mean? So that's a little different than like he just burst on the scene. But you are right. If you look at the history of the Oscars, they just don't do it very often, especially with young men, like you said. Couple people echoing your sentiment there. Cam's in the house, channel regular. What's up, Cam? I think you just joined the channel too, buddy. I think. If you didn't, I still love you, but I think you did. Thank you for being a channel member, and thanks for showing up. He says, I do think Timmy's personality does rub a lot of people the wrong way. And above everything else, like it or not, award shows are a popularity contest. Yeah. I want to see if you guys agree with me, though, that I can't really pick Michael B. Jordan to win, or I don't know if you guys are, unless you're picking Sinners to win Best Picture, which, of course, is extremely possible. So if you are, then, then yeah, you should pick him. But I'm sticking with One Battle, so it doesn't make sense for me to pick Michael B. Jordan. I don't know, in my head. I don't know what to do there. I don't know what to do. I'm not locked in yet, but I don't know what to do there. 5J says he presents as entitled. What does it say? Arrogant and entitled. I could see that. I could absolutely see that. He is young and dumb, and he says shit that he shouldn't say, and, it be what it be. The ASC's tomorrow night. I thought it was tonight. I'm out of the loop, But yeah, Train Dreams, ASC. I think that's a possibility, actually. I think that could kind of mess everybody up. Because then what would you predict for the Oscar? Because Train Dreams don't have anything else, we assume. Original song's probably off the table for Golden, right? It's not going to win Best Film. Edgerton missed, It's in screenplay, but that's obviously probably in the bag too. So it is competing for cinematography, though. And it is the best cinematography of the year, definitely among the nominees, in my opinion. I do love the work in Sinners, though, and One Battle, really. Those are the top 3. But my personal favorite is Train Dreams. I did that video that'll be up on Monday, if you're not a member, that if I voted in the Oscars, and I voted for Train Dreams in that category. It's the most beautiful cinematography. And then if you see what Veloso did with some of the different work, like the plane scenes and stuff like that, it's really phenomenal. How practical it was, and still looks like so beautiful, with not a lot of hijinks involved. It's just straight up beauty, He just knows how to work a camera. That would be cool. I would be all about that. Let's see what Anthony says, because he's one of the biggest Timothy haters. So let's see here. He says, what what I will say, if Timmy wins, it's only so they don't have to nominate him again. It's them saying, here's your Oscar, now go away. That might be true. That might be true, but yeah, I know you don't like him, Anthony. That's fine. But I've always said that, if we had even 20 actors right now that were working regularly, that cared as much and put in as much, like, I want this to be the best performance you've ever seen, effort into their acting. I mean, how phenomenal would it be going to see movies? I just think that some of them do it for so long and they just get in the zone, and they have genres that they, are comfortable with or whatever, but they just, I don't know. It's like his first time every time when he's doing it. That's how I feel, now that might change too. Cause like we said, he's young, right? So that might not be forever, but I just really appreciate what the guy's turning in. Let's see what else we got here. Yes, he is. Yeah, that's John. I'm sorry, I'm reading it. I'll put it up on the screen. Yes, Johnny Greenwood is a member of Radiohead, which I think is really, really cool. Tessa Thompson is in the house. I saw somebody wanted me to sing Defying Gravity. You guys don't want that. We'll grab a beer real quick. Tessa Thompson, hold it down. I'm going to get a beer. It's a hard work out here in the garage, guys. I've got a couple brewskis. Oh, yeah. All right. Now that Tessa Thompson's here, we can start the stream. She showed up when I was talking about Hedda the other night, or a couple weeks ago, and I was like, are you Tessa Thompson? Are you guys drinking tonight, Saturday night? Anybody drinking? If you are, let me know. I don't know if I have any drinkers that are fans of the channel, but I always throw a couple beers down after I get my kids to bed, so time to get it started. You know what I mean? Let's see. All right, Joey's got a real deal. I see a question mark. If I see question marks or super chats, I'm trying to grab them here. I'm gonna check on the poll in a second too. If MBJ and Wound Me win, do you think Sinners wins Best Picture? Yes. That's why I am. I mean, it depends on the hall, but you also got to assume that he's got original screenplay, right? So what would we have? We'd have screenplay, 2 acting prizes, score. That's a shoe-in. That's 4 at least. Casting, right? They're probably going to have casting. That's 5. Now, by the way, all of this could fall apart, but I think these are all pretty locked in. I don't know about the 2 you have on screen there, but I think at least one of those is. But let's just assume both of those are. That's 5. What else? Maybe cinematography, especially if they win ASC, because now voting is over, but that'll kind of tell us what the cinematographers in the industry responded to, which is crossover with the industry body. So if it's cinematography, that's 6. I don't know what else they would win though. I mean, picture obviously they could win, but let's say they don't for now. But if they did, that would be 7. So yeah, if everything plays out what I just said and they end up winning Best Picture, that's 7 wins on 16 nominations, which might sound like a lot, but really that's not that crazy. So what are they going to split with one battle? Because I'm going to wait and see what the ASC does, but I've got one battle in cinematography right now. It's on a bit of a roll with cinematographers that vote for those, with the BSC, with the BAFTA, And then I think score is definitely Sinners. I think casting is, especially after the SAG Ensemble, although that's a different award, but I still think that's probably good for Sinners. So yeah, it's going to be tight, man. That's what I'm excited about. A lot of people confuse me predicting one battle or whatever as me not pulling for the other one, which is not the case at all. Like, I'm literally just pulling for an exciting Oscars. That's it. I'm trying to be accurate, So I don't have a horse in the race because my favorite movie among the nominees this year is Marty Supreme and Sentimental Value, and they're not going to win. So, if I was predicting what I wanted to win or what I thought was the best, those are the ones I'd be predicting. And people get confused about, the difference between like personal opinions and predictions. So my prediction right now is for PTA in one battle to win director and picture, which if I'm doing that, then you kind of work backwards from that. And I'm not saying you guys have to do this, but when I've had success doing this, you work backwards from that to make it make sense, right? So you can make a column, which actually I'm going to do before I do my finals, but you can make a column and you can say, these are the obvious wins, like 85, 90% or more likelihood that they win. And you put those down. Okay. this is in their basket because we pretty much know these are locked in. And then you say, okay, if Sinners is my Best Picture winner, and these are the ones that we have, let's work backwards. Is that enough to win Best Picture? And if you don't have enough there in the definite, then you start playing the game. Like, okay, what's the likelihood that Michael B. Jordan would win, or that Winmy would win, right? Or and so on and so on. Kugler director, like whatever. Can you make that make sense to yourself to where that Best Picture win makes sense? So, the things that the Best Picture winner always is a very harsh, I'm not going to say always because it's not the case, but most of the time, at least for me to predict it, a Best Picture winner is going to have at least one acting prize, preferably a lead prize, but just at least one acting prize. Either director or screenplay, so we'll just say director. Screenplay, I think, too, but you could put those two together also. And I'm talking about like a minimum to get Best Picture. If you have an acting prize, if you have director or screenplay, or preferably both, and if you have the editing prize, you have a threshold to get to Best Picture. So it's not a whole lot. So the funny thing about that is I think both of those films, with the exception of editing, of course, are going to have that. But if One Battle wins editing, does Sinners have like 2, 3, 4 additional texts that kind of trump the editing win? Probably. So when you start piling up these texts, if in other words, if One Battle got editing, right, but Sinners got cinematography, casting, score, then it doesn't matter. Then obviously Sinners has got a better haul because it's starting to like compile on top of itself. And then you go, okay, they're the Best Picture. You'll know Sunday night, or I will. An hour into the show, I'll know what Best Picture is, and you'll probably see me say it on my reaction. Now we could still get a shocker like the Parasites or the Moonlights of the world, or like whatever. But I'm just saying, in real time, when they're handing out the awards, unless it's like every other, and they're not really telling us a story, otherwise you'll know. Be like, okay, because we know they're getting screenplay, so editing's up for grabs, right? Some of these acting prizes are up for grabs when Sinners and One Battle are in the mix, at least. I wouldn't worry about lead actress. I wouldn't worry about, supporting actress, I would, because if Winmy gets that, that's huge. Because then you go, all right, we're good. If you're a Sinners fan. Sean Penn's going to probably have supporting actor, right? What if there's a huge upset and lead actor is Leo? Then One Battle is Best Picture. That's what I would say. Of course, that'll be later in the night. So by then, you'll probably know anyway. But some of these races or some of these categories are going to really tell a story, I think. You're going to go, oh, I was way off, or oh yeah, I knew that would happen. And it's I've said all season on my channel, if you guys have been watching the videos and the live streams and stuff, that I don't think we can lose. I really don't. I think it was a really, really great year for film. The poll over on YouTube, make sure you guys vote in that. It says we have 97 votes so far, but I know a lot of people have been watching. If you go up to the top of the chat there, who's going to win lead actor right now? Michael B. Jordan's in the lead with 72%. Wow. So you guys are predicting Sinners for Best Picture then, I hope. It's got to make sense. It's got to make sense. I think I'm staying away from a One Battle. I think I'm personally staying away from a One Battle or a Sinners actor because I have them both winning an acting prize already. If you give them a second acting prize, that should be your Best Picture winner. So if I'm telling myself One Battle is going to win Best Picture, I can't do that unless I'm giving it to Leo. Which that could happen. And frankly, maybe I will predict Leo if I stay with One Battle versus Timothy. But I also think Timothy gave the best performance among that group. And I think that he was really strong in the beginning of the season, right? And losing the BAFTA, I don't know that I can confidently say he was number 2 at the BAFTA. But nonetheless, he didn't lose anybody that he was up against there. So it's not like I dismiss it because, the win matters, or the loss matters, I guess I should say. But, you have to try to rationalize it to yourself. It has to make sense. Wuthering Heights, Patty Boy, I'm sorry. Did I take that comment down? I think I did. But what did you say about Wuthering Heights? You said Wuthering Heights is a huge hit. Is it getting good reviews, though? I thought it was... Hang on a second. That's one that I haven't seen yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to see it. I love Emerald Fennell, but, she can be divisive, too, for some reason. I think it's going to be a player for technical stuff, maybe costumes, right? For sure. It's only a 2.8 on Letterboxd. Yeah, it's not going to get anything, Patty Boy. Right here. This will tell the story right here. Um, if it, had a comeback in this area right here, then maybe. With scores like this, it could still be a player for below the line stuff. Like for this movie, it screams costumes to me, and I love Emerald Fennell, her style of filmmaking too. Who's the cinematographer on this? Yeah, so that's the same one that did Promising a Woman to Saltburn, La La Land. See, Linus. So cinematography's in the mix. Costumes. I don't think they'll happen, but those are probably the only things realistically that would be in the mix, just because of those scores. I do want to see it though. I assume you dug it based on your comment. But I love her. I'll see anything she does. Oh well, yeah, this is true too. So I'll leave that on the camera there. What Cam's saying. That's a good point actually. Yeah, yeah. Um, I see where you're getting at there. Yeah, we just. I'm not sure if you just joined. What does that say? J post? Is that I post? Oh, I see it now. I post stupid videos. Um, yeah, we were just talking about that I post, but if you watch, I get what you're saying, but if you watch the whole video or the whole interview, he's not doing that. He's not doing that. He made a stupid comment, and especially if it's taken out of context, it doesn't sound good. But he was talking about the downfall of movie theaters and how they may eventually become um, events like concerts or operas, where you buy a ticket a month in advance and have to go out on an expensive date night to go see it because movie theaters are going to fall down. It's not going to be a general audience, AMC, whatever, and everybody can go. Or he fears that, and they were talking about the future of cinema, and then he trailed off into this kind of stupid comment that he should not have said. But at the same time, that clip is being shown without the context around it. So I don't think he was, at least not purposefully, talking shit about them, but it definitely didn't sound good. Let's see. I got a couple super chats here. I'll go back up here. Let's see what we got. Thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, it's Jules. Channel member Jules, one of my faves. She says, "What is the one thing you're looking forward to on Sunday?" The second part's hilarious to me because it's like 100 things. I the one thing I'm looking forward to is Conan. I loved him hosting last year. I thought he was great. And I think he's going to make it a good time. He's going to make it fun because it's going to be stressful for a lot of people, myself included. But he's a fun dude. I love listening to his podcast and watching his little clips I see pop up on my YouTube and stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to what he comes up with. I hope he does like a one battle skit or Sinners or something to start the show. That would be really cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to him again this year. And I'm the other answer to your question is for both questions is that I'm just ready for this to be over. It happens every year where it's like all I talk about for like 2 or 3 months, and I enjoy doing it. Don't get me wrong, and contemplating it and having guests on to talk to me about it and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like, I can't really do anything else until the Oscars are over because it's just so much content that I'm trying to get out for you guys, but also in studying, trying to do my due diligence to make good predictions on this stuff. So it's just hard to do that and other content at the same. Like I saw Hoppers today. I went to see The Bride a couple days ago. Scream 7. I did do a review for that one. I snuck in, but it's just hard to even write reviews for that stuff because I'm doing like Oscars predictions and stuff. But yeah, I would say I'm just ready for it to be over. I'm nervous about the results because this is a year that the precursors are not doing their job for us in a lot of categories. I mean, I would argue, I'll hear what you guys have to say, but I would argue that with the exception of the 2 screenplay categories, Jesse Buckley and original score, and I guess animated, you don't know what the hell is going to happen. What is that, 19 other categories? I mean, that's crazy. Now, we might have an idea, like this is the front runner in that category, but at the same time, it's not locked in, with the exception of those 4 or 5 categories. So that's really insane from a predictive standpoint because, everybody was giving my friend Clayton shit when he came on because he was, Sinners this and Sinners that. And I understand the precursors don't tell that story. But believe me, if you just went by the precursors all season, that was all you ever predicted, you would miss some. There's always a surprise. There's always a plot twist. There's something in the air, the momentum, or whatever, And I think this year, if Sinners is going to kind of leapfrog one battle in some of those categories, or maybe even picture, that event this year is the SAG Awards happening when it happened. I just don't know how much weight. I think I'm going to take swings elsewhere. I might predict The Secret Agent for international. I don't think there are a lot of people doing that. I think most people are on sentimental value, and I can see why. On paper, sentimental value should be the front runner. What are other swings? I'll pull up the Oscar page. Give me a second. But my point is, you have to go out for stuff. You have to take swings because there's going to be surprises. The last year, this probably, but last year I, stuck with Mikey Madison. A lot of people went Demi Moore. She had the narrative. Great performance, but it was a horror performance. Flat out. A lot of people aren't talking about it, but that's actually a weakness or something that I see that's going to be an issue for Sinners, unless history, unless that history starts to change with this Oscars, which of course it could. It's going to change at some point, I would think. But at the end of the day, that's a genre film. Now, they love Ryan Coogler and they got a shit ton of nominations, and I understand all that. But, Silence of the Lambs won in 1991 or something like that. Horror films don't win. Genre films don't win. Now, could it? Sure. And then maybe we turn that corner, right? But I think that might be something that it's up against too, that people aren't kind of realizing, that some Academy members, not the more progressive ones, obviously, and the younger ones, but a lot of them might just not check it on the mere fact that it was a horror movie or that it had vampires in it. I know that sounds stupid, but that's the way the Academy's operated in the past. Let me go to the page here. Thank you for the super chat, hon. I'm glad you could show up tonight too. I just wanted to do a brainstorm chat. I want to kind of see, I want to go through some of these comments like rapid style here in a second, because I want to kind of see how you guys are feeling. So I want to tell you what I'm doing. So I am recording my final predictions on Tuesday. Okay. Probably Tuesday night. And I'm going to lock in, at some point during the day, Tuesday, I'm going to finish up, these spreadsheets and all this bullshit. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have even done them yet, obviously, but I'm not going to listen to other people's or any of that shit. I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do, and I'm going to lock that in. And I'll record that Tuesday night, have it out for my members a little bit early, but it'll be out on Thursday on the main channel. And that'll be it. And then I decided this year, I might need you guys to hold me to it, but I decided this year that I'm not going to make any last minute changes. Okay. Because what happens is I do go listen to my friends after I do mine, and I'm like, that makes sense. I'm going to change that. And then every fucking time I do that, what I had initially is what ends up winning. I'm not even joking. It happens almost every single time I change something. So I'm like, I'm not going to change it this year. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So just so you guys know what you see on the video Thursday, I'm leaving it. And I want you guys to hold me to it. So if you watch my video and then you go on the award expert on Saturday and it's different, be like, you said you weren't going to change that. And I'll be like, you're right. And I'll put it back. So just so you know, you guys can hold me to that. All right. Just because I always want to, that's just what I'm going to do. Every time I do those last minute changes or the gut changes, at the last second, it never pans out for me. And not only that, it's always what I had initially, which drives me crazy. So that's why the Wunmi Misaki ones got me all fucked up, because really that should be Amy Madigan on paper, but that's a horror performance. Now it's supporting, so that's a little bit easier to win historically, but that's a horror performance, and it's the only nomination for that film, flat out, period. That makes her weak, straight up. I love the performance, and if it won, I would probably be the most excited about her win, just because that would be phenomenal for horror if she won. And it would also be against the rules, kind of, And a lot of people are going to be predicting her because of the SAG, and that I'm not saying I won't. I haven't decided yet. Right now, I'm Wunmi, but if you're doing that, just be careful, because the SAG, that's a SAG performance. That is absolutely 1,000% a win that she should have gotten at the SAG. With the narrative of being in Hollywood forever, and they love honoring horror there. They're not like the Oscars. You know, I mean, Emily Blunt won for A Quiet Place, and she wasn't even nominated for the Oscar. So she could win, you know, but I don't know that I'm going to predict it based on some of those factors that are going against her. So I wanted to look at this based on what Jules was asking me here. So the swings, I'm going to tell you, but guys, right now, this is not locked in, but the swings I think I'm going to take right now that are going to be, and by the way, I'm guessing, but I think they're going to be a lot different than what the masses are going to be predicting, people that do this, you know, podcasts or YouTube or whatever, in trades. I'm probably going to go either, man, this category right here is fucked up, isn't it? I mean, seriously, look at that, guys. Any one of those 5 could win that. I hope you guys realize that. Like, I'm not even kidding. Every single name you see right there could be a winner. They all have a path to it. That's what's crazy. That's insane. So you could pick one, you know. In fact, do it in the comments. You could pick one and give your criteria, and it's going to make sense. You know, but one of my swings in this category, I think the majority of people have jumped ship, and they're going to probably predict Michael B. Jordan. If they're doing that, my advice to those people would be have Sinners as your Best Picture winner. And if you do, then that makes sense. You're fine. If Sinners is not your Best Picture winner, I don't think you can predict Michael B. Jordan. Really, what I would do if I was you is who you think is going to win Picture Director. Start there. Okay. If they're tied together, then okay, that's your movie. Then you got to work backwards. What got them there? If it's a split, you still have to do that for Best Picture. But if it's a split, it would be what? It would be Sinners for Picture and PTA for Director, right? Because it wouldn't be the other way around. I wouldn't think. That'd be kind of crazy. If Coogler won Director, but one battle got Picture, that would be insane. Like I'm not saying I'd be upset. I would just be really confused. That'd be crazy. So, and then you got to work back from that and see what it got. So in this category, I think the swing I'm going to take is I'm not going to do Michael B. Jordan because I don't have Sinners in Best Picture. So unless I switch to Sinners, I'm probably going to go Timothée Chalamet, probably. Either that, or I'm going to predict that One Battle is going to do a lot more than we have been thinking as of late, and I'm just going to go One Battle, and I'm going to say Leo is going to come out of nowhere, and they're going to give him a second Oscar. You know, they love him. Maybe Timothy and MBJ split votes. Who knows? They're both younger. I mean, I know MBJ is like 38 or 39, I think, so he's a little bit older. But maybe they split votes. You know, that's a horror movie too, don't forget. Sinners is a horror film, or at least horror adjacent. That's going to hurt him in some regard. Maybe not enough for him to lose, but it's going to take some stuff away from him. So maybe they all... What's up, Mikey? Whoever did that, I love you. I'll be right with you. So they're going to split some maybe, right? And who swoops in? Ethan Hawke, perhaps? He's adored, right? Leo? Wagner Moura? I don't know. I think I'm going to go Timothy right now, though. In other words, if I was doing it right this second, I'd be predicting Timothy. That could change by Tuesday, but I'm going to take a swing in that category, I think. I don't think I'm going to go Michael B. Jordan. I might regret it, but I think that's what I'm going to probably end up doing. And I'm just looking at it, trying to like tell myself that makes sense, but I don't know. All right, let's see what we got here. Warren Johns. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. What you got over there? Let's see. I have to click on it to see it. I don't know why it doesn't. This software doesn't tell me until I click on it. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, man. Yeah, thank you for the coverage. I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate you being here, hanging around, and engaging with me all season, and putting up with my ramble sessions. But absolutely, man. You know, it's fun, man. It can be stressful when people want to come at me like, you know, I'm just trying to have fun and stuff, and that can be stressful. It makes me want to take a break from it, but I can't until the Oscars are over. We're going to Disney World next month in April, so you guys won't hear from me for about a week when I go to Disney. I don't even know when that is. I think it's like mid-April or something like that. But I'm looking forward to that, get away. And we just did a Pixar ranking, me and my two boys. Let me tell you guys something real quick. Maybe I should put this up as a poll. So we went to see Hoppers today, the new Pixar film, and that's 30 movies that they've done. And me and my 7-year-old Luke, we just binged the whole Pixar catalog. We started like around Christmas time, and we just watched like 2 or 3 every weekend, and we got through all of them. And we happened to do that right when it was time to go see Hoppers. So we went to see that this weekend. So now he's seen all of them in the last like 3 or 4 months. And so we did like a fantasy draft, me and my 2 sons. So we each have 10 movies on our team, and I recorded it and like whatever. But they are so silly. They're out here in the garage like laughing. They're knocking crap off my desk. They're like being so stupid, and I'm like, I can't put this on YouTube. It's like you guys just like laughing and like spitting all over my computer, and like I'm like, I can't do this. So I think I'm gonna put it up for my members, and you guys tell me if you think I should put it on the main channel. These kids are wild. Nobody's gonna watch this for more than like 30 seconds. I mean, it's insane. But they had a blast. It was a good time, and I think my team was the best. But anyway, I got off track. So lead actor. Thank you so much for the super chat, though, Warren. I appreciate it, man. But I think lead actor is one of the ones I'm gonna go out for, and I'll tell you what the other ones are. Let's see. Okay, here's the Jessie Buckley thing. Hang on a second. Let's see here. Melancholic Awesomeness says, to be clear, Jessie Buckley's issue is that she gave her fiance to choose between his cat and her because she felt like the cat was antagonistic to her. Was she being serious? Like genuinely like worried about it? Or was it like she was like joking when she said it? This sounds kind of like a joke to me. Like she really said that? I don't know. I did see this weird thing on TikTok the other day though, that I don't know why I was laughing so hard, but there was this weird thing that popped in my feed of this like cat that just started attacking a family when they were walking by, and I was like, oh my God. Like I wondered if it was AI for a second. I was like, that cat is pissed. I wonder if that's like real though. I love cats too. I wish you hadn't told me that. Melancholic. I love Jessie Buckley, but yeah, I love cats. We have 3 cats here. Louie, Milo, and Felix are 3 cats. I don't love them so much at like 4 o'clock in the morning, but generally speaking, I love them. So I didn't know about any of that. Somebody told me, actually on this live stream, my buddy Anthony was just like, yeah, she doesn't like cats or something. So I don't know. It just sounded silly to me. But, that does suck for cat lovers though. Let's see. Oh, Patty Boy's getting in it here. Getting in it. Look at all that. What's up, Patty? I see you. I agree with this right here. What's up, Anthony Sherman? How you doing? I agree with you. I've always said that. That's another thing that's going to hurt Timmy, by the way, is Marty's not competing anywhere else. It should be. It should have got nominated for score. It didn't even get nominated. Production design is really strong in that movie. I really like the costume nomination too. Obviously, it's not going to beat Frankenstein, but I liked it. Yeah, casting that's my favorite. That one and The Secret Agent are my 2 favorite casting nominations this year. But I don't think he can win it. Oh my God, I love this. Let me go back to that. It was this. Okay, wait. What? Oh, when I first read that, Christmas, I thought you said you were drinking wine and bleach, and I was like, don't do that. That's not good. But now I see what you're saying. You're bleaching your hair. Do you know how many actors have won 3 Oscars? Well, Sean Penn's about to. Hey, see what there? Jack Nicholson did, right? Is that it? Jack Nicholson has, I know. Might be it though. I'm trying to think. I'll get back to you on that. Actually, you know what? I can pull it up here real quick. How many actors have won 3 Oscars? Jack Nicholson's the only one that comes to mind for me. Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis. Yeah, I forgot about that. So 6. Here you go. Oh, for some reason I didn't even remember that. I didn't know that Meryl Streep had 3, but okay. So Jack, Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis, Frances McDormand, Walter Brennan, and Ingrid Bergman. So 6. There you go. We learned something. The only one I knew was Jack Nicholson. What's wrong? I forgot about DDL though. I should have known that one too right away. But and then I saw something up here about, what did I see up here? This username, Gay Super Bowl. I love it. Is that in reference to the Oscars? I love it. God, that's so good. That is a good username. I'm glad you got that one trademarked there. No acting. Oh yeah, you mean no acting wins for Parasite? Yeah, I agree. I agree. Oh, you mean when it won Best Picture? Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. If you're talking about like in comparison to Sinners, yeah, you're right. You're right. I guess I more so meant if I pick one battle to win, I feel like MBJ winning would be weird. It could happen, of course, but I just in my head it's just like kind of hard to compute it. Charlie says, "Yeah, you were right, Anthony. It was Francis McDormand." Yeah, I see what you said there. We just looked that up. Let's see. Charlie says that Leo is not win competitive. He needed to win at either BAFTA or SAG to prove he's viable. I agree with that to a certain extent if you're trying to like use the stats to tell you a story, but I feel like in a lot of categories this year, the stats are out the window. I mean, that's just between me and you. I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I'm just telling you right now, if he won, my jaw wouldn't be on the floor. I'd be like, okay, they're giving Leo a second Oscar. The room would probably erupt. I mean, it's Leo. I mean, he would be shocked probably. Everybody else would be shocked. We would be shocked. It would be like MBJ at the SAGs. Everybody would go nuts. Um, I don't think a lot of people would be upset about it. And he's adored. So I feel like with the way the race has been progressing, is like it's kind of getting more and more out of focus as we've gone on, as opposed to more and more in focus, which is usually what happens. So because of that, it's gotten so far now to where it's literally a blur now in that category, I mean, and then a couple others. So, that's why I think anybody on this screen could win. Am I going to predict Leo? No, probably not. But I absolutely could see it happen. It wouldn't be because of the precursors, though, to your point. It would just be because they didn't know who to vote for. They voted for Leo, or they're one battle people, one battle. Or whatever. Timmy got half the votes, and BJ got half the votes, and Ethan Hawke and Leo came in and took enough to get number one spot. If Wagner Moura wins, by the way, if you guys are predicting Wagner Moura, then international feature has to be the Secret Agent, which I'm doing, by the way. That's another swing I'm taking. I'm predicting Secret Agent, I think, for international feature. So that leaves me open to predict Moura too. I don't think I will, but he's also on the table, especially if it wins international. That's a tough category, man. That one is supporting actress, in my opinion, are the toughest. You guys are the best. I'm trying to see if there's any new. So EDM's here. EDM, I haven't talked to you tonight. How are you? Thanks for being here. Jordan having 12 years of TV credits made the difference at SAG. The TV actors. Yep. Sarah Silverman got the nom for I Smile Back and Jennifer Aniston for Cake. Yeah. That's actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because I didn't predict it, but I was really, really, really close to predicting Rose Byrne to upset there because of the TV stuff, like what you're talking about. I was like, maybe Jessie Buckley loses one, but then still wins the Oscar, and I thought it would be Rose Byrne at the SAG. She was probably a really close number 2 if I had to bet. I bet you she was. I bet it wasn't too far off because of the TV stuff, like you're saying. Rose Byrne's been around that world for a long, long time too. So yeah, I think you're right there. I think that's a good point. Yeah, Patty Boy, I agree with you there. Hey, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Is this my girl Lex? Yeah, Lex Williams. Yeah, that's my girl. Eddington Hive in the house. Oh man, we're the only 2 people that like Eddington, I think. But whatever. This is my shit. I don't know. I mean, it's depressing, right? It's not the funnest watch in the world, but I dug it. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. They need to get some screeners for us, Lex. I haven't gotten invited to shit in 2026 so far. EDM says it's predicting the Leo, but the BAFTA comment has made Jordan easy to vote support, even when I don't think the BAFTA. Oh, you mean the slur that they yelled or whatever? Is that what you mean? I don't want to tie that to the Oscars. That just feels kind of icky to me, but also you can't quantify that. You know what I mean? And like I said before, when it comes to like a controversy or something going on in the zeitgeist and pop culture outside of the awards, the Academy doesn't care. I mean, they've proven time and again that like, whether it's like sexual assault or like, violence or racism or like, I mean, they just don't. I've rarely seen a race at the Oscars go a different way because of something that happened in the news. And usually it's a shame, something like that, for example. But I can't put stock in it anymore, because you just can't quantify it. You just don't know what 11,000 people are going to be, how tapped in they're going to be to what's going on. You know what I mean? Some of them admitted they didn't even see all the movies on the anonymous ballots. So I get what you're saying, and you could be right, but I just don't know how you would really, even if that ends up happening, how you would really be like, that's why that happened. What's up, Chris? I haven't seen you in a minute. How you doing? Thanks for being here. Almost everyone is taking MBJ, Chalamet, or Mora. But I really want Hawk to win. Sadly, it looks like it's just a dream. I think Chalamet can win, but I would prefer a surprise. At this point, Chalamet would be a surprise. So stay in line. I think everybody's jumping ship to MBJ. And it could happen. And I don't want this to sound like elitist, like I know what's going to happen, because I have no fucking clue. And I'm just telling you guys that up front. I have no clue. But at the same time, I think the MBJ support as of late, if you've been supporting the whole time, then that's great. But in the last week, if you've like switched to MBJ, it's probably because of the SAG win, right? Which makes sense from a precursor standpoint, because he's the only industry crossover now. He has the only award that crosses over with Oscar voters. So it makes sense on that logic alone. But it was so exciting, and then when Delroy got the nomination, surprisingly, like that, there's a lot of exciting narratives around that cast. And then you pair it with the stuff that's been going on with Timothy in pop culture and the news, which I don't have a problem with a lot of it, but the larger culture might or do, and they're kind of like not taking to it very well. And he's overexposed. He's oversaturated, in the market. And Michael B. Jordan, we don't really see, unless he's doing an interview or, about Sinners or, whatever. But he's not like every time you turn on the TV, he's doing something, which is what Timothy's been doing. I just saw one today where he was like on a Japanese game show. I'm like, what? Like, what the hell did you even go over there, brother? I think Marty was premiering over there this weekend or something like that. But yeah, it's different tastes or whatever, and different palettes for like celebrity. And he's dating a Kardashian, don't forget, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's like, that's just a world he lives in, is like having the spotlight on him, at least right now. And, somebody like Sean Penn is the exact opposite of that, right? Like, he doesn't even leave his damn house, you know what I mean? I mean, he couldn't be bothered to go to a show that's 3 blocks up the street from where he lives because, he doesn't care. He don't want to be there. He doesn't want the spotlight. I was surprised he was at the Globes, to be honest. I think PTA probably talked him into doing that. I hope he goes to the Oscars, especially if he's probably going to end up winning. It'll be interesting to see what the speech is. The Oscars might not want him there. He might say some shit about them when he gets up there. I don't know, but it'll make for good TV. But yeah, I think, Chris, to your comment there, I think in that category, I honestly, anything is a surprise in that category. Maybe you could say MBJ would not be a surprise just because it's happening right this second, and that would just be a continuation of that momentum, But other than that, if anybody else won that category, even Timothy Chalamet, I feel like it would be somewhat of a surprise because of the way, like I said, the way this race is getting further and further out of focus as we've gone along, which is the opposite of what usually happens. Anthony Sherman says, what do you say? Amy Madigan will win. I could see that. I could see it. I've actually been, that category and lead actor have been fucking me up. Really have. Pardon my language. I don't know what to do in those two categories. Let me show you guys a spreadsheet actually for supporting actress. So that's what we were looking at anyway, right? Yeah, that's what we were on anyway. So the purple are the comps for her. And you look at them and you go, okay, she's good, because Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl, now that was 10 years ago, but she won with just the SAG, okay? Amy's got the SAG and the CCA, all right? A little bit more of broad support there, but still, industry-wise, this is it. Now, this was a weird season because I think Kate Winslet had 2 different films in contention, but Steve Jobs was the only one that got any wins. And then Alicia Vikander was also nominated in 2 different films that year. that season. She was also up for Ex Machina at some shows and ended up winning the CCA for that, but it was a different performance, right? It wasn't the one that won the Oscar. So that was kind of a weird year. Hard to really kind of gauge what the vibes on the circuit were. But The Danish Girl was stronger at the Oscars. I think it had 4, nominations overall, where Weapons only has 1. Then you go to your next comp, which would be Regina King, right? For If Beale Street Could Talk, because she had no industry support, precursor-wise, but then won the Oscar. She got the Globe and the CCA, which is, who's got that? Timothy has that right now. And she ended up winning for If Beale Street Could Talk. Jamie Lee Curtis also won with just the SAG, very similar to For Candor, but Everything Everywhere got 11 nominations and won Best Picture. So that is a comp on paper, but to me it's not, because Weapons only has 1 and it's a horror movie. Now, Everything Everywhere is a strange sci-fi multiverse film that's also not Academy friendly. It's not horror, but you could say it's a genre film that's sci-fi that's different than what they usually go for, especially to win, right? So that's kind of a comp too, but it's much stronger. I mean, all the top of the line shit, 3 acting prizes. I mean, it was a very strong movie. So it's hard to really say that that's a comp when you start thinking about that stuff. On my notes for her, that's basically what I said, right? Yeah, that's basically what I said. Because Amy has the SAG, and she's the solo nom for her film. So to, who was it? Was it Anthony that said it over there? Sherman? About her winning. You could absolutely 1000% be right. It's these 3 ladies, I think. And I think if Tayana's still in the race, if you're predicting Tayana, then you've got one battle just dominating. Which, go ahead. I mean, I've thought about doing that, actually. But then it's like, if you do that and you're wrong, then you're really wrong. You know what I mean? As opposed to being like, just kind of wrong, So that's why I'm probably not going to go full blown one battle or centers. I'm going to kind of do what I've been doing all season. And like, this is what this should get, and this is what that should get. And it's kind of a split, But if you're like all in on one battle, then you could still predict Tayana. But otherwise, I think it's between Amy and Woonmi. Right now, I'm leaning Woonmi. Only because she doesn't really have anything going against her, right? Amy Madigan is also a strong candidate for that award and may very well win. But in looking at it leading up to that point, she's working against things that are challenging her to get there, whereas Woonmi doesn't have any roadblocks in front of her, except for Amy Madigan, right? The other contenders. But Sinners is very strong. 16 nominations. It's obviously going to win top of the line stuff, maybe even Best Picture, right? But either way, it's going to have 4 or 5 wins on the night, at least. And nothing prohibiting her from winning there. Amy Madigan's like going up to the stage, right? But every time she's taking a step, she's running into something. She's running into the fact that she's the only nomination for Weapons. Then she takes a couple more steps. She runs into the fact that it's a horror performance, right? So, she didn't get nominated at the BAFTA. That's a big one. If she'd gotten nominated at the BAFTA, I'm not talking about winning. If she'd just gotten nominated at the BAFTA, here's 2 things that it could have happened that I would be predicting her without even looking at this spreadsheet. I wouldn't even made this. If she'd gotten nominated and or won at the BAFTA, or if her film had gotten any other nomination, anything. Screenplay, makeup, casting, sound, editing, anything. I'd be like, yep, she's going to win. Because then it shows broad support for her film, right? But what the lack of nominations at the BAFTA from an international standpoint and at the Oscars, what that tells me is that they didn't like it as a group. Did they dislike it enough to hurt her chances? I don't know. I mean, we won't know till the envelope's opened, right? Because she's obviously deserving, but we're not voting on it. They are. So, did I get a super chat? I did, right? Oh, I thought I heard it go off. Did I not? What was that? Oh, God. If this thing is not showing me super chats, I'm going to kill somebody again. I didn't say again. I've never killed anybody. Sorry. Guys, tell me if somebody gave me a super chat. It doesn't have my alert up there, but I thought I heard it. All right, let me go through some of these real quick. You guys are talking about the multiple Oscar winners. Let's see. Fireballer is in the house. Where'd that go? I just saw you. Fireballer. Welcome. I'm trying to see if there's any new names over in the chat. Thanks for being here. Fireballer says, this is my first year really getting into award season. I found your channel a couple months back. I love your content. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. That kind of stuff makes me smile. You're the best. Thank you so much. And welcome to award season. I don't know how old you are, but I just turned 50 and I've been covering this. Well, covering it is a loose term, but I've been paying attention to it for like more than 30 years. And it's gotten to a point where like, it's crazy, it's crazy. So, but welcome. It's a lot of fun. It's basically like I always joke, it's basically like following your favorite sports team. Sometimes it's going to be euphoric and sometimes it's going to break your heart, but it's fun and it's all about celebrating the movies. So thanks for being here and thanks for that sweet comment. I appreciate it. Okay, now my super chat showed up here. Diane again. Let's see, Diane, my girl. Thank you so much. Click on. Oh, here it is. Just a tidbit. No Best Supporting Actor has ever won the Oscar with only the SAG-BAFTA. Does Sean Penn actually win? Yeah, Clayton told me that, and I was like, okay. It's still the strongest package that you could possibly have. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like Sean Penn's in danger. What I will say is that he could be, but what I will say is that based on that stat of the SAG and BAFTA both going for him, he should not lose. I'll put it that way. If he loses, there was such a shift in the swell of support for him in a short amount of time, because the BAFTAs, I'm trying to remember my timeline. So the BAFTA awards happened, right? And then Oscar voting opened like 3 days later, I think. He won at the BAFTA, voting opened, and then while voting was open, he won at the SAG. So all that voting was happening in like a 2 or 3 week period, and he was winning all of those. So basically the month of February, right? He was winning when the voting was happening. So if he doesn't win the Oscar, that mentality for that crossover of voters, which is very similar voting bodies, and in some cases the same people, if they're in multiple bodies, change their mind somehow for some reason or whatever. So he could lose. And honestly, you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but if he loses, it's probably going to be to Delroy Lindo. And it's probably going to be because Sinners has a huge night. Otherwise, I don't think he loses. It's just too strong for me to predict against him. I mean, he could, of course, like we've been saying with most of these categories. Like I told you earlier, I think there's only 5 categories that are shoo-ins right now in the whole night. I mean, other people will tell you there's more, but right now there's only 5 that I'm like confidently like this is exactly what's going to happen. Otherwise, I mean, what's supporting actor? Let's go over there and look. I think Delroy's the biggest competition, which is crazy because he hasn't won anything. So I think Benicio's out. Jacob Elordi is a possibility. We know that Frankenstein's going to have below-the-line technical support. Those branches are going to love that movie. They love Guillermo del Toro, right? Which is going to help anybody that's in one of his movies. But I think it's really between those bottom 3 names. Lindo, Penn, and Skarsgård. I mean, if you ask me. Now, if I think they give out the supporting prizes earlier in the evening, I think. But if they give out supporting actor in the first like hour or whatever, and it's Stellan Skarsgård, let's just say, then that's your international feature winner. Right away, you go, okay, well, that won international feature. If he doesn't win and Sean Penn gets it as expected, then international is still on the table. If he wins here, being that he's like kind of seen as not the popular dude, if I don't know what the best phrase is, he's a great actor, but maybe not personably. People don't like him as much. He doesn't show up to the shows, right? That kind of shit. So that would be why he wouldn't win, And again, that mentality with the voters would have changed in like a week. So that's why I would not go off of him personally. Now you do whatever you want, but I'm not going to go off of him because they told me the story in the month of February. This is the same voters essentially, or you can think of it that way. They were voting for him less than a month ago. So why wouldn't they vote for him this week or last week? I mean, that's the way I'm thinking. Now, of course, like I said, he could lose, but that's kind of my mentality there. That's a really strong haul. The SAG and BAFTA are the two. That's a lethal combo. And the fact that nobody's won with just those 2 is interesting. That's an interesting stat. And Clayton's the one that brought that to my attention when he was on my show last week. But I also think that's kind of coincidental. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a negative, if you will. I think that's one of those facts that you're just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But it doesn't like make it a negative, if that makes sense. Because I mean, what would the alternative be? Like, he has those and he has Globe. Okay, well then he's even stronger. Do you know what I mean? So, um, I don't know. That's an interesting race too, but I do think that one's a little closer to being locked up. You know, it's not a lock, if you will, but it's probably like 65, 70% chance for Penn, I would think. You know, we'll see. I'm interested if you think that he's going to win there, Diane, or if you're, you know, if you're asking for help or whatever. If you're asking for my advice would be stay on it. I think he's going to win it. You know, and like I tell you and everybody else when I make predictions and when I give advice or whatever, I don't know. I mean, that's just what I think. But I'm staying with him to win that category. Yeah, I agree with this, Joey. That's kind of what I was saying too. I'll throw it up on the screen here. I agree with this right here. I do think he has a chance to win, but I've got this weird, and my regulars and members will tell you, I have this weird thing. I like go with my gut and my hunch like 90% of the time. And I just have this weird feeling that that movie's underperforming and it's just not as loved as, frankly, it should be. I don't know why. You know, it's been missing in some weird places, and you know, he didn't win at the BAFTA, which is like, you know, like Clayton said, he had no business losing the BAFTA. I mean, that was the weirdest shit. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like what we were just saying about Sean Penn. Like, you know, he should have won the BAFTA. I mean, that's crazy. Even saying it to you guys, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't know how he lost that. So it's just telling me that the support or the passion for sentimental value is just not quite where it needs to be. And I don't know if the industry caught up in enough time to kind of fix that for him or for that movie. Because I was looking at it the other night. I got a friend that's coming on with me in a few days, and I was looking at some stuff preparing for that guest spot. You guys are gonna love her, by the way. She's new to YouTube, and she lived in, I think, Minnesota, and then moved to Japan. So she lives in Japan now. So she's kind of like watching the Oscars from there, and she's great. And she's gonna come on and talk Oscars with me at the end of this week coming up before the show. But I was doing some stuff looking at that, and I was like thinking to myself, it's really, really weird to me and kind of sad, honestly, that I think sentimental value and Marty Supreme, if Timothy doesn't win, are going to blank. That's my two favorite movies of all the nominated films. I'm just like, do you guys have like a personal vendetta against me, or like what's going on here? Like, because I mean, they did me good last year with Honora, I guess. So they're still in my good graces for that. But yeah, this is just so weird to me that those two movies that are like easily two of my favorites might end up with nothing. That's just so crazy to me. But I think if Skarsgård can win, then it'll get international feature. That'll probably be where it stops, though. If he doesn't win, their best chance is to get international feature solo, which of course has happened many, many times. But I don't know, man. That's crazy. But I do still think he has a chance. I agree with you. Hey, Sonny Bear's in the house. Sonny Bear, how are you? How are you? I still love Wound Me because Tiana really has no reason to not have won BAFTA or SAG. Amy and Wound Me both have more industry experience than her, so it's just weird to see how she surprises. Oh, you talking about how she's? You talking about Tiana? It would be a surprise, first of all. So that part would kind of cancel out the weird, I guess, because it would be surprising. But I think she would own. I have her in the mix on that spreadsheet. She's one of the three that I think could win, but she's definitely third, and she's definitely like less than 20% chance. I mean, not high likelihood at all. Whereas a month ago or 2 months ago, she was high up there. But that kind of campaign kind of fell apart on BAFTA weekend, right? Because she lost that, she lost SAG. Sinners overperformed and One Battle underperformed at the SAG. So she kind of lost all the momentum she had coming out of that weekend, right? And she was definitely in third, maybe even lower. But the reason I think she could win is if One Battle steamrolls. So if One Battle, let me turn my fan up, guys. Sorry, getting hot out here. You talk about the Oscars, I get heated. You know what I mean? Hopefully that's not too loud for you guys. You're streaming out in the garage. You gotta make arrangements out here. You know what I mean? I keep forgetting I have this mic on right here, so I'm always like trying to lean into my mic, and I don't need to. It's right here, so I guess I could just chill back here and talk to you guys. Is that cool? Is that view okay? You guys like that view? I'm too far away, right? Why am I so far away? What was I saying? Yeah, if one battle dominates, that's the only way Tayana wins, and that's a far cry, but we also can't rule that out, I think, and believe me, I know the haters are going to flood my comments when this ends up not being true, but if I had a hunch and I was to give you guys a hunch right now, I think that the SAG ceremony, the actor awards, and the just groundswell for Sinners, and it dominated there. It did really, really well, even though a lot of people predicted that they were still, shocked and happy and everything else, euphoric. It was, I mean, me too. I thought it was great. But I think that recency of that happening is what people are thinking of when they're doing predictions and when they're talking about what's going to happen at the Oscars. So if you're doing that, then you have to be of the mindset that that's what the voters are doing too. And we're talking about a lot of voters here. Some of them may not have even watched the actor awards. In fact, I'm sure some of them didn't. So, they're not film Twitter. They might not even have social media. They might not watch the shows. At least a chunk of them don't. So I'm trying to be careful about that, different shows can prove to be momentum shifters, but Sinners already had momentum. It's not like it wasn't strong already. So I think both movies were really strong going into the SAG, and I think they were still strong coming out of the SAG, because don't forget that One Battle won the PGA, and that's a preferential ballot, very similar to what the Oscars use, with a lot of the similar crossover in the industry, right? It's a ranked voting system. They've matched, I think, 7 out of the last 10 years, maybe 8. I can't remember. It's a pretty high percentage. I think it's 7 or 8 of the last 10 years they've matched on. So that's important too, And a lot of people hit me in my comments about that on a recent video, and they said, yeah, but, they voted for that back in early February. And I'm like, well, yeah, but the results were announced when the SAGs were announced. So the voters for the Oscars heard the winner and saw the PGA ceremony while they were voting, regardless of when the voting ended. Does that make sense? So I think that's just as important. I just think that the kind of fanfare around the Sinners victory, Michael B. Jordan specifically on the night of the SAG, while it was wonderful and I loved it, is getting a lot of attention that may be skewing what a different body is going to do, because that was a body of predominantly actors, right? I think 100,000 or something like that, actors. And that's the type of movie and performances and stuff that they typically award, which ironically is almost the opposite of what the Oscars usually award. If you think about the horror and the genre, and, even though I hate it, like, people of color and like all this other stuff that the Oscars don't go for on a consistent basis, is in Sinners. And the SAG, I love this. I loved it. I loved all the results, but they're two different bodies. They're two different voting institutions with different demographics in their membership. So I'm just trying to be careful about the recency of that and being like, oh, well, this is what's going to happen, even though it kind of feels like it's what's going to happen, if that makes sense, because of the way the momentum is right now. Yeah, that was about Tayana, so I answered that one for you. Thanks for being here, Sonny Bear. Love seeing you. Love seeing you. AXR's in the house. I see AXR's dropping some knowledge over there. I think you're chatting with somebody else, though. But that's cool. That's cool. Thanks for being here. I see Anthony's in the house. Anthony, are you being nice? Be nice. I just see the word. I see the phrase "small violin," but be nice. Let me see. Sonny Bear says, I think Delroy too, because he's literally the only supporting actor that's actually been on stage and talking. Yeah, and he has that veteran piece too. That was emotional too when he got up there. He was like basically saying like, I'm too old. I didn't think you guys are going to vote for me. That hit with me. I don't know about you guys. But I think, man, Yeah, I think Sean Penn's got it. I do. But I think if we're trying to think to ourselves, why wouldn't he have it? I mean, for him to not win that with the SAG BAFTA package, for him to not win that, it would have to be something kind of crazy, right? And kind of like historic. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, that's how strong that package is that he has. So that would be, in my opinion, Delroy Lindo. I mean, I guess you could say Benicio del Toro too, because he hasn't won anything. But it would have to be one of the two of them, because it would have to be like a shocking, like, oh my God, this was like, not anything that should have happened, but it happened. Now, it's more likely for Delroy than for somebody like Benicio, because, Delroy's got the passion behind his first nomination. Benicio's been there before, right? But Delroy and Stellan really have that similar narrative that they share, of the first time nominees, etc., veteran actors. So, I agree that Delroy could surprise there. I don't think I'm going to predict it, but I could see it. Diane says, let me click on this, a super chat. Thank you again, Diane. I appreciate you. You're the best. You're so sweet. Let's just say I am hoping for Delroy Lindo to pull out a miracle. It would be really exciting. It would be, I don't know if you saw my reaction when he got nominated, but I never would have predicted it, but I was beyond thrilled. I mean, the dude has just like always been such a consummate professional and great actor, very charismatic, loves the craft, very supportive, and this is a supporting actor role, right? So it would be great, and honestly, it would mean a lot more to him than Sean Penn. I mean, I'm just calling it like it is. Sean Penn's not going to give a shit. So, I think he made a comment a few years ago about how he melted down his Oscars to like donate the gold or something like that. It's just shit like, shit that somebody's trying to win an Oscar would not say. He just doesn't care. That's why I said it would be interesting to see if he comes to the show. I mean, if he wins, he might not even go on stage. I mean, I don't know. It'll be crazy. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I know you're pulling for Delroy, Diane, and kind of in the background I am too. But I mean, on paper, Sean Penn should really be a runaway with what he's got so far. But I think it would be cool. Fireballers back in the house. Let's see. Fireballer, she's loving it, or he or she's loving it. Sorry. 20. Oh, you're 20 years old. Oh, wow. Jesus. I'm so old, guys. So you were born in like 2005. I'm not good at math. I think 2005, 4. Good Lord. My daughter's 24, and I don't know why it's always weird to me when people our age watch my channel. I don't know why it's weird to me, but thank you so much for being here. But what else you say? I really love this year's movies. Really hoping Timothy can get it done. I'm definitely going to be locked in on award season every year now. Nice. I started watching. You said you're 20. Let me think for a second. So I'm going to date myself again here. But my dad, and this is way before. Do you know how we used to do predictions? I'm about to tell you. First of all, it wasn't even really a thing back then, but my dad and I did it. So how old would I have been? So this was the Unforgiven year. What year was that, guys? Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, 92, I think. Hang on, I got the page right here. Which, by the way, is one of the greatest movies of all time. Definitely one of my favorite Oscar winners of all time. Was it 92? I think it was 92. I know that was Silence of the Lambs, which may have been the same year, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. No, it wasn't. It must have been 91, I think. So, let me see. You guys are probably hitting me with the knowledge over there in the chat, but it must be 93, maybe? I know it was early 90s. I'm sorry. Let me see. It had to have been right. Yeah, okay. There you go. It was a 93. It came out in 92. So the 93 Oscars is when I started getting into it. So I would have been, I can't believe that I was almost your age. I would have been 18, 17 or 18. I was a senior in high school. And Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. My dad took me to the theater to see that. And I was fucking floored by that movie. To this day, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Possibly the best Western of all time. One of the greatest revenge films of all time. One of the best like quiet movies about like male friendship of all time. Morgan Freeman gives a tremendous supporting performance in the movie. Gene Hackman, the late great Gene Hackman, rest in peace. If you want to see a good villain performance, dude, Gene Hackman in that movie as Little Bill is like bone chilling shit. Just an actor at the top of the fucking mountain doing shit that like any actor would dream of doing. So that's what I'm getting emotional thinking about it with my dad and stuff. Sorry. But anyway, I was 17, 18 years old, and the way we used to do predictions back then is in the newspaper. Yeah, black and white newspaper, the local paper. In the USA Today. I don't know if you guys ever remember the USA Today. It used to be print, which maybe it still is, but and we would like circle them, you know, what we would do and who's going to win and like whatever. And my dad would let me stay up and watch the Oscars with him. And that was when I really got into it. So, and that continued my whole life, you know. And now I got my kids out here doing doing Oscar predictions and stuff. So it kind of comes around full circle, you know. Let me go back to this year's show, and I'll tell you what, if you guys want me to, I'll run through these like real quick and tell you what I'm predicting like right this second, which could change by Thursday, just so you guys know. And then I'll go through some more of your comments too. If I see a super chat or anything, I'll pop over there. Oh, we got a couple new names here, including my boy here. So the aforementioned Clayton, I don't know if you're still over there, man, but thanks for being here. He says, hot take, Stellan Skarsgård should have went lead, and I think he would have been more competitive this season. Well, yeah, now they probably would have already given it to him at this point. But yeah, you're right. You know, I think I was who was I talking? I was talking to somebody about this earlier because they were asking. I did my supporting ranking of the supporting performances, like 10-1 of everybody that got nominated in supporting actor and actress, and I put Inga as my number one, which is true. And somebody hit me in the comments about her being lead, and I said I don't know, but I think Stellan was. So I agree with you. I think Stellan and Renate were lead, and Elle and Inga are supporting. And I'm not thinking so much for screen time, but I'm thinking more for like the narrative, you know, because I mean, obviously they're both his daughters, but the kind of inherent built-in like plot devices carrying the story is Renate and Stellan's kind of father-daughter relationship, right? And then I think Inga is a true supporting performance in the way that she supports all the other players in the movie. And I've said that she's the glue of the film because she's kind of like doing different things for each person depending on what face she has on, right? And then Elle Fanning is, you know, obviously in that supporting role as kind of the American fish out of water. But you're onto something there, and you're right. Clayton's my boy. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. I enjoyed that chat last week with you too, man. It's popular on the channel. I don't know why so many people are mean to you, though. You know, you just take swings, man. You just take swings. People are hating on you over there in the chat, on my comments and stuff. I'm like, dude, get out of here. Taking swings. This is my guy. And then I saw a couple other new names over here, too. Who else do we have? We had Josh Wilson. Josh Wilson says Delroy could have a Marcia Gay Harden moment. Yep. And she wasn't nominated in the precursors to Puff win without being in Best Picture. Yeah, that's what he would be if he wins. You know, I think Delroy's the only person that can beat Penn. You know, which is crazy because he doesn't have anything for me to say that. I mean, on paper, nothing. But what he does have is the love from his peers. And that movie has 16 nominations. It's not weak. It is a race. You know, I'm a one battle person in terms of what I'm predicting. I love Sinners as a film, but I'm predicting one battle. But I'll tell you right now, and I said this when I was talking to Clayton last week, it's paper thin. I mean, it's not like a runaway. If one battle wins Best Picture next weekend, it's not going to be like a 80-20 vote. It's going to be like 60-40 or 55-45. I mean, it's going to be close. And conversely, if Sinners wins, you know, it'll be close, which is fine. I don't know why, you know, like I'm fine with that. You know, I don't know why people have to like, you know, Sinners fans have to get on one battle people and one battle people have to talk shit to Sinners fans. And like, I don't understand that. Like, it's fine. You know, I want to be accurate in my predictions and, you know, My favorite movie in the bunch is Sentimental Value and Marty Supreme. They're not going to win Best Picture, but am I pissed? No, I'm not pissed. It was a great year for film. I'm fine. Um, I just, and I don't think anybody, I haven't seen anything negative in our chat here tonight or anything, but I'm assuming you guys are all good, but just don't do that. Just nothing comes of that. I'm a huge, and Clayton will tell you because we talked about this a little bit when we were together, but I am a huge Wicked fan, and nothing drives me more crazy as a Wicked apologist, especially for Wicked for Good this year, than the toxic side of that fan base, because they just bring down the merit of the film and the way the film is perceived overall by people that aren't diehard fans. They might like the movie, oh, that was fun. I liked Wicked, or I love Ariana Grande, or the songs were great, or whatever. And then they come home and see all this toxic shit, and it eventually skews their opinion of what they had of the movies. I don't know if that happened with the Academy members or not, because I don't know what they did over there on nominations morning, but they didn't get shit. It blanked, But don't do that. Just be nice to people. If your movie doesn't win, guess what? We all win this year. I mean, this was a phenomenal year for film. I've been covering movies for a long damn time, and I will tell you right now that this is a great crop of films. I'm sorry when I get off of my little thing, guys. I don't mean to ignore you guys. Let's see what's going on over here. Anthony Sherman says, welcome to the club. Almost every year I have a favorite film that gets no love. Yep. I was joking with Clayton last week when we were talking, and I said, I should have known that Timmy would be in trouble, that Marty Supreme wouldn't win shit because it was my favorite movie among the bunch. That's like a death kiss. These producers should start calling me and be like, don't like my movie, because every time I do, I get boned. Except for Anora. Anora was a diamond in the rough for me. I can't believe that one panned out for me last year. I was so excited about that. But yeah, those are my top two: Sentimental Value and Marty are my top two in the Best Picture 10 this year, and they both could blank. Now, Sentimental Value is probably the front runner for International, although I'm picking Secret Agent right now. I mean, like Clayton said last week, it's a coin flip, and I actually agree with that. I think on the night we might know, like if Stellan wins, or if Secret Agent surprises in casting, or whatever, then we'll know. But it might just come down to that award. I mean, no fucking idea. I mean, you would think that Sentimental Value would be the winner because of the 9 nominations, right? And all the acting noms and top of the line stuff, picture, director, this, that. But at the same time, it's been missing in places that it really should not have missed in. I mean, like I said before, Stellan Skarsgård not win the BAFTA is the most glaring to me. Joey wants to give me the Oscar. I'll take it. I got a fake one back here. Ever show you guys this? One of my channel members that actually is still anonymous. I never found out who sent me this. Sent me this thing when I started my channel. It's like a plastic, It's got a little engraving on it. I don't know who sent me this. If you sent me this, take credit. But that was really cool. It's like the first, it may have been Gustavo, actually. One of my Brazilian, maybe he just didn't want to tell me. But it may have been him, because he's been a supporter of my channel for a long time. And he pops in occasionally. But yeah, that was cool, though. That was one of the coolest things I've gotten. And then back when I did my podcast, you see that horror guy sign back there on the wall there? This dude named Patrick, who has always been a really big supporter of my podcast. And I used to, when we would cover horror films, I would always say I'm a horror guy. And it kind of became like a meme that would make fun of me, oh, he's a horror guy. And he made that for me. That's literal, he handmade it. And it's got fake blood, or I hope fake blood, splattered on it and stuff. Sent it to me. So I love getting stuff from the fans. I always put that shit out too. We had other stuff out here that I bought at Target, but I'm gonna put that stuff up first. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go down here and see. If there's any questions or super chats, I will jump to those first. But I'm gonna go through some of these. I might just read them out loud and see if you guys have any questions. And since Clayton's in the chat, he didn't know I was gonna put him to work, but drop some questions to him too if you want. Clayton, are you still on Sinners like you were when we recorded 4 or 5 days ago? I'm curious about that too, if you're still over there. Let's see. AXR says Woody Allen and Katharine Hepburn both won 4. Okay, you guys are still talking about that. Yep. Unforgiven. Yeah, so I found out Unforgiven was 92. The Oscars were 93. And that was the year that I kind of got on my Oscars insanity. Joey says my first Oscars throw this up there real quick. I love these stories. My first Oscars I watched when I was a kid was when Avatar came out, and the next year with Toy Story 3. So that was when they oh no, they expanded the, is that when they expanded the Best Picture 10, right? I think. Or maybe that was Up, I think. That was with Pixar's Up, I think. And How to Train Your Dragon. Okay, that was a little bit later, I think. But yeah, that was a good year too. That was a good year too. I just told you about all the Pixar watches we just did, and we saw Hoppers today. Let's see. People full cowling 1012 says people keep saying Sinners doesn't have a shot when it does. Lots of anonymous ballots, which I don't take too much into account, are voting PTA for director and Sinners for picture. That would be the split. Like Clayton pointed out last week when we chatted too, if there is a split, it would have to be that. Because if Coogler wins director but doesn't win picture, that would break people, because that's kind of weird. That's a weird cross up there. They both have screenplay, right? So that, if they were both in the same screenplay category, then that would be really crazy, because then you'd be like, who's going to get that? Because that might tie to this, and this is going to tie to that. But since they're both probably going to have that award already, and they're not, competing against each other, that can be kind of taken off the table as something that would be a tell. But that would be the split if there is one. I don't know why I'm struggling with doing a split. I don't know why. I don't want to be swayed by the SAG recency too much. I want to let that kind of sit in before I'm like, okay, this is what, because the vibes for me prior to the SAG, literally until the envelope was opened, really for Michael B. Jordan. But, I kind of thought it was going to win ensemble, even though I went the other way, because I had Sinners, then I changed it, then I changed it back, then I changed it again right before that. I told you guys I'm not doing that this year. When I do my shit on Thursday, I want you guys to all hold me to it. I'm not changing it. Because every time I change it, it ends up being what I had. So I had Sinners, I change it back, whatever. I ended on one battle, but I kind of knew, like, okay, Sinners could very easily win this. But the Michael B. Jordan one was a bit of a surprise, even though I had him as my second. But it was still kind of a surprise. So until that moment, I've really for like 3 or 4 months been like one battle in PTA, right? It's just felt like the movie this year. So then I stop and I go, and this isn't like, Clayton's much better at this than I am. So this isn't like, breaking down, stats and shit. This is just, I'm just talking to you guys. It is what happened at the SAG, and I'm talking about for me, enough to get me to change that. Does that make sense? Like, I've thought for multiple months, and nothing has told me otherwise, that PTA and One Battle are the movie this year. Now, with the SAG ensemble going to the cast of Sinners, I love that win, but I don't know that that's enough to get me off of the strength that I had in One Battle winning. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's enough to topple what I felt like they already had. Of course, it could be, and momentum is that piece that's not really being measured, or you can't really measure, that they do have. But I also think One Battle still has it too. Now, to your point, I definitely think Sinners is a possibility, and I'm not one of those people that says it doesn't have a shot, because I do say it has a shot. In fact, I think it's razor thin no matter who wins. We're talking a close. By the way, my wife told me one of our local elections here, the dude won by 23 votes. It's in the local news here in North Carolina. And I'm like, that's a sign. That's just going to fucking happen in the Best Picture race. Somebody's going to win by 23 votes. But as soon as she said that, that's where my mind went. I was like, I wonder if who do they vote for in Best Picture? Can you find out? But yeah, she told me that. It was like one of the like Senate races or whatever. I'm like, 23 votes? That recount's going to go on for like 2 years before they find out who won it. But no, it's very, very close. What does that say? I'm blind. What does that say? Full cowling? It's very close. I see what Joey did there. Wicked for Good was great. I don't know if you guys heard Clayton the other night, but he said he's going to send me a Wicked hoodie. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I have a t-shirt. I don't have a hoodie, though. Yeah, I got a super chat. Yes, that's the real Clayton. He's been real supportive of my channel, and he just came on. You should look it up. It's on the channel from last week, and we did a breakdown of where the power rankings sit right now, and that's him. That's my dude. He goes on Jennifer Hudson, right? This is his tour. Jennifer Hudson, Good Morning America, pops over in the garage, right? He's back on the Today Show, right? Where else you been, man? I'll come with you, Clayton, next time. We'll team up. I'll be the one battle voice, and you be the center's voice. It'd be great. We got a super chat here. Let's see. That's my girl Jules, right? The super chat in this program is cool that it gives me a little. Well, you guys can see it on the chat, but you see how Jules did that, and it puts it in the box. That means it's a super chat, but I can see it on your thing. But on my thing, it just has her name, and when I click on it, it shows me that. I wonder why it does that. I feel like I should be able to see the comment before I click on it, but I don't know, whatever. It's probably in the settings. But thank you so much for the super chat. That's just a stupid thing that I think is weird, but I appreciate it nonetheless. What do you think are the chances that someone other than One Battle or Sinners wins Best Picture? What would you pick if they split votes? I mean, the obvious answer is Hamnet, although, let me go down here, see what we're looking at. That's a great question. I don't think, I mean, it would have to be like a crazy, man, you're really hurting my brain now. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's got to be one of the two of them. I mean, if they did split enough to put somebody over in the ranked voting, because, and Clayton really turned me on to this mentality too, is that when you're ranking your films, because it's a ranked voting system, it's not just like you vote for your best. When you're ranking them, what is your 10? I mean, number 10. Because if you think that's your number 10, that means it's going to get eliminated first, but then those votes get redistributed. So when you look at that and your number 10 is, in my case, it was Train Dreams, and he had a good point. He's like, okay, if that was a Train Dreams voter and that's gone, what was their number 2 vote? What was their number 3 vote? Because those ones then get redistributed to those films. So somebody that likes Train Dreams is probably prone to movies like Sentimental Value or Secret Agent, or and then if you have like F1 in 10th and F1 gets knocked out first, that's probably a One Battle voter. I mean, almost exclusively, probably, maybe Marty Supreme. So those 3 movies are really similar. So whenever those get eliminated, those movies are going to roll to the higher ranked movie, which is probably going to be One Battle. So you have to kind of think about that part too, because that'll tell you who's left standing when you kind of get to the last act of the voting, right? It's probably going to go on for multiple rounds this year, I would think, with 2 movies being so strong. The Oppenheimer year, they were probably done, before they yelled lunch. You know what I mean? It was Oppenheimer. But, this year it's going to take a little while. To answer your question, I don't really know. I don't think it's going to happen, so I haven't really thought about it. But honestly, it would probably be Hamnet, I guess. Hamnet has the Globe drama win. Jesse Buckley's the lead sweeper, considered the most, the strongest performance in lead. So package-wise, I would think Hamnet's got enough, and it's probably going to get a lot of like top 5 votes. Probably, it's industry or acting and performing adjacent to the industry a little bit with Shakespeare and acting and stuff. So writing, that'd probably be what I would say. But I think that would really be the shocker. We're all talking about Sinners and One Battle. How crazy would it be if they said Hamnet? That'd be it'd be like, what? Like, that would literally be a Moonlight La La Land stage fiasco all over again. Like, I'd be like, that can't be, just waiting for them to correct themselves. That'd be, I mean, I love Hamnet, but that would be crazy. I kind of want something like that to happen though. I don't know why. I mean, call me like a little chaos demon or whatever. I'm curious what you guys think about Jules's question there. Thanks so much for the super chat too. I appreciate it. Let's see here. I got a new viewer over there. Alak Mishra. So sorry. I am interested in what you are picking for the shorts. Both live action and animated have multiple possibilities. They do. I'll start by saying the 15 movies that got nominated this year are literally from top to bottom fucking stellar. I am not a uppity pinkies in the air while I'm sipping hot tea judging everybody person, but you should be watching the shorts, guys, especially the ones that are on YouTube. I mean, my favorite animated short was 7 minutes long. You're telling me you don't have 7 minutes, while you're in the bathroom or something, you can watch the short? We need to watch the shorts. I'm trying to be like that, but a lot of people are missing out. They're just so good. They're really good, especially this year. But I watch them every year. Roadside Attractions did the distribution for them this year, and they sent me all the screeners. They're very generous that way, and I watched them all basically in a marathon. I had seen a few of them already, so I skipped those, but I just watched them all. For animated, my favorite one is Retirement Plan, which does have win potential, but I think the winner is going to be, well, I'm predicting the winner is going to be the Girl Who Cried Pearls. It's like a beautiful stop motion animation with some digital for like facial stuff that they used for the animation. They've been there before. Those filmmakers have been nominated for before for the Tootly Pootly or something like that. The girl, or I'm sorry, the something Tootly Pootly. Anyway, that was a short that they got nominated for like 5 years ago. And it's really good. It was my second favorite in the category, but it was like really striking animation, and I just think they'll go for it. It has kind of a cool plot twist at the end of the movie too. That was a bit of a gut punch for like consumerism and greed, and it was really good, really striking film. But Retirement Plan and Butterfly would be like my runner-up in that category, just so you know. But I'm predicting The Girl Who Cried Pearls. And then in documentary short, I think it's All the Empty Rooms, which is Netflix, which has great success in that category, or in documentary in general. But it's a really tough one, but it's about a newsman who he works for CBS News, CBS Evening News, and he does like all the fluff pieces, and he was doing them at the end of the broadcast during all the rampant school shootings in America. And at the end of the news show, he would come in with like, the grandmother who like saved a cat out of a tree and like all these weird like fluff pieces to like make people feel better, And anyway, he did that for a number of years, and he realized like nothing's changing. I'm just doing this for literally nothing. I'm just screaming into a void. And he started doing this side project with his friend who's a professional photographer, and they visited the homes and the parents of kids who had passed away in those school shootings. And they left the kids' rooms exactly the way they were. They didn't change anything. They didn't put away the dirty clothes. They didn't clean it, like nothing. It was the way it was before they died. And he will come in and like interview the parents, and the photographer will take pictures of all the rooms and stuff. And they made like a special like lookbook for the families to remember their kids. And it was fucking brutal, man. And if you have kids, like, it's like, oh my God. I mean, it's like, I actually was sitting next to my 12-year-old son, who was the same age of a lot of the kids that perish in the film or in real life in these stories. And I'm like sitting next to him watching it. And me and him are both crying. He's 12 and he was affected by it. Because these kids are his age, play baseball like him and all this stuff, Whew, man, it's getting me now. I mean, it is a really, really emotionally heavy film, but also very important. And they love, a story that means something in that documentary category. So I would go All the Empty Rooms. Although Children No More is a possibility too. That's one that deals with the Palestinian Gaza conflict and also deals with kids being killed. And that's a global issue. So that's a possibility as well. But I'm going with All the Empty Rooms. And then for live action, man, for live action short, I'm not even joking, you guys. 3 movies in that category of the 5 are like 3 of the best movies I saw all year. That's why I tell you guys, you got to get on this shit. And I think you can watch at least 2 of them on YouTube right now. But there's one called Two People Exchanging Saliva. And that's my pick, by the way. That's what I'm predicting. But it's shot like the French New Wave. It's all black and white, beautiful cinematography. It's like 35 or so minutes long. So it's a little bit longer. But it plays like a narrative feature. And it's got elements of like the Hunger Games in it. And it's this like future where money is non-existent, but being affectionate or kissing is illegal, and it's punishable by death. So you can't have any type of affection towards another person, physical affection. If you do, you'll be killed, like on the spot. And they have like a landfill where they throw dead bodies. So that's the premise of this future. And when you go into a store, they still have department stores and restaurants and all this stuff, right? But when you go in, if you want to get something, instead of paying for it with money, you pay for it by being slapped. So if this lady wants to get a dress and, the clerk will be like, that's 45. And she'll say, okay. And then they'll slap her in the face 45 times. And then she takes the dress home with her. So there's a lot of like topical, like narratives kind of built in to the story too, like analogies. But it features actresses from Portrait of a Lady on Fire. There's a lesbian love story built into it. Jodie Foster, I think it was. Jodie Foster. and or maybe it was Julianne Moore. There's a couple of producers on the film that are like high um, A-list actors in Hollywood. I'm forgetting who it was. I want to say Julianne Moore or Jodie Foster or maybe both. I can't remember, but a couple pretty prominent names are attached to it as producers, and they've been doing like Q&As with them and stuff. But that's the one I'm predicting in that category. But the other ones, just so you know, that I loved are The Singers, which is Sam A. Davis, and he's actually been nominated before and won for cinematographer for Period End of Sentence, I think 2 years ago, in a short category. That was documentary short. And so he's been there before. I think he's been nominated twice, and that one win. And it's a wonderful film about like male companionship, and incorporates music, and it's also very beautifully shot. And then the other one is Jane Austen's period drama, which is like the funniest shit I have seen in like a decade. Like I was dying laughing at that movie. It's like a episode of Drunk History, kinda, and it takes place in the world of Jane Austen, like this Renaissance era, and ball gowns and proper and all that stuff. And that's the setting, and they play it straight. But the premise is like she's being courted by this young man, and she finds out she gets her period, and he doesn't know why. So it kind of like builds in this narrative about men's kind of stigma against women's bodies, but it's played straight. All the characters have like names that are like sexual innuendos. It's so fucking funny, guys. Really, really good movie. So the shorts were really good this year. And I'm sorry that was so long-winded, but I'm going All the Empty Rooms, Two People Exchanging Saliva, and I mean, there's a couple for animated, but I'm probably going to go with The Girl Who Cried Pearls. So that's where I'm at right now. But I get excited about those because my daughter makes short films. She was a film school graduate a couple years ago, and she does a lot of that work still. With a lot of her college buddies and stuff. So we get on those every year, and they're always really good. But this year is the best I've seen in a while. What's Clayton got over here? I missed what that was in reference to, but oh, wait a minute. I see it now. If One Battle wins more than 3 Oscars, Leo will set the record for the most cumulative wins across acting filmography, more than Ray Fiennes. I feel like somebody told me that in one of my comments on one of my videos too. I'm going to be wrapping up here soon, guys. Let me go through these comments. I know I'm like way behind in the comments. I don't think I have any new super chats though, or do I? Oh, wait a minute, I do have one. Right? See, I told you. It doesn't show me the comment. I don't think I did this one yet though. Diane, thanks so much. She says, thanks for your opinions this evening. I'm out. Don't forget to change your clock. Oh my God, you're right. It'll do it for me automatically. You know what that means though? Is this when it goes spring forward, right? So this is the one where I'm going to be trying to put my kids to bed and the sun's like bright in the sky. Who did that? Whoever did that didn't have kids. I mean, do you guys try to put your kids to bed on a school night when the sun's shining? It's not easy to do. You know what I mean? I hate it. We need to get rid of that. Let's go through here and see what you guys got. Agree on All the Empty Rooms, she says there. Yeah, KLC, I see you. Mayhem. Hashtag mayhem. Fuck it. Let's do it. It would be crazy, bro. I mean, they'd be rioting in the streets, Stuff will be on fire by midnight, But yeah, movies, man. This is a good Best Picture 10. I don't see something like that happening, but at the same time, it's like I would be shocked and my predictions would fall apart. But I would be like, you know what? It's kind of cool. I don't know. I wouldn't hate it. But that's funny. What do you guys think if Steve Hartman was the newsman there? I saw what you said there, Sherman. What do you guys think? Do you think the room would embrace Timothy if he wins Sunday? I mean, what do you think the reception would be there? I see you, Clayton. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He says he's heading out. May your predictions be ever in your favor. Yeah, tell me what to do, man. I'm going to hit you up again before Tuesday when I record mine. But thanks for being here, man, as always. We'll get you back on soon. Clayton Davis, everybody, is the man. What do you guys think the reception would be to Timothy if he wins there? I just hope it's positive, I do. I'm gonna be wrapping up soon here. I'm gonna scroll through this real quick and just see if I see any question marks or super chats, and then Then I'm going to call it a night. Let's see. I think you guys are kind of talking to each other, which is cool. That's cool. Let me go back to full screen. I didn't even get to do my other ones, but whatever. And do this one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, you guys are the best. I hope this mic sounded okay. Is it blinking because the battery's about to die? Oh, no, I thought it was blinking. Never mind, it's not. I hope this mic was okay. I guess you guys would have told me if it wasn't, but I appreciate you guys being here. I just want to do a last little, like, kind of feel what the airs, what the vibes are like out there. You know, and this was a good convo, good back and forth. I appreciate you guys asking questions and doing super chats and stuff. Clayton popped in, which is great. You know, I've said this in almost every single video I've done. I'm getting ready to wrap up, but, you know, just be nice to each other. It's okay. It's okay. At the end of the day, these are just movies. Okay. These movies were all successful, or they wouldn't be in the Best Picture 10. They've got what they got. They're good. Okay. You know, sometimes, and I know if you're a fan of one or the other, you're not going to want to hear this, but sometimes the worst thing that can happen for your legacy is to win Best Picture. You know, I mean, it's okay. You're still going to be a good movie. You're still going to live on. You were nominated. You know, it's fine. And also, there's no reason to be mean to somebody that's a fan of a different winner. You know, it's fine. If somebody wants F1 to win Best Picture, let them live their life. It's okay. You know, it's not the end of the world. But you guys are the best, and I appreciate you guys being here. It was nice. I see you, Jules. It was nice to see some familiar faces too. And if you guys are into it, if you're not already a channel member on YouTube, you can just click join. It's like a couple bucks a month, and it'll mess me up because we just got to 6-7 members, but that's okay. I'll take the hit. I'd love to get up to 100. You know, I'm going to start trying to think about if we get to that 100 number, like additional like stuff I can do for you guys. I was thinking about doing some different, like maybe music related videos just for my members, like countdowns and my favorite songs in different categories and that kind of stuff. I did that for my Patreon back in the day, and it was really popular. So just kind of break up the movie chatter a little bit because I'm a big music fan too. But we'll see, you know, if it warrants it with enough members and stuff like that to keep you guys happy, I'd do something like that. And I got a lot of videos coming up in the coming weeks or in the coming week for leading up to the Oscars. And just so everybody knows, when I do my reaction for the Oscars, I'll film it when me and Logan watch it, or I don't know if he'll be in the video, but when we watch it, I'll film my reactions to all the winners, but then I'll piece it together and throw it up for you probably on Monday. And then I'll have a couple wrap up videos, like recapping the award season the following week. And then I'll do this and move on. Usually at the end of March, early April, I have my 2027 on the radar video, and I've started researching that. So I'm really looking forward to talking about some of these new movies and moving on past this award season. So hit me with the comments down below if you're watching this later on and you weren't on the live stream. Let me know what you think and what your predictions are, if you're, you know, still kind of grappling with what to do in some of the categories like I am. And if you did tune into the live stream, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate you, and I will see you guys soon. You know, I'll be out here in the garage.